Brief starts now.
What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday, and thank God we are here at the Black Line Brief for an amazing show. Hope you guys are ready for this one. Well, if you guys didn't know, once a month, Erika Kirk sits down with Pastor James Kaddis, known as, I call him James Kadoosh, but sits down for the Proclaim Bible365 podcast show where people write in, I think. Maybe they write to themselves, kind of like what Frank Turek does. And then they answer, well, there's biblical, like scripture questions, which I get. Well, not even that. Like she says that she's supposed to be like a biblical scholar, a Bible scholar. Like she could answer those questions, but let's give her a little leeway. And that's why Pastor James Kaddis is there to answer the tough questions that Erika doesn't know. But they also write in lifestyle questions, which the majority of the people that write in all seem to be women. And if it were me, and I was talking about this with my wife, that you're a woman and you're writing in and you're asking lifestyle questions, you know that Erika's there. I'm pretty sure these ladies are wanting Erika's opinion or guidance or, advice on these personal, very, very personal lifestyle questions, of which she like never answers. I swear this is the weirdest show that they've put together, the two of them, where she just sits there and goes, totally, amen, yeah, the whole time. I mean, like, there's a couple questions, you guys, that for sure the person writing in, like, wanted her to answer this question because, like, she could speak directly to these people's questions. It was about, like, one was, like, about cremation and burial. The other's about, like, losing your husband as the sole provider and the leader of your family, like all of which, like, Erika could speak directly from her, well, I mean, her life experience, in the last 10 months to, she could give her own personal advice of what it's like, like she should be able to be like, hey, no, James, I got this. This clearly was written for me. Let me handle this. No. I mean, she does chime in. We are going to like see there's so much craziness. What we're going to do. Okay. And I hope everyone's down for it. And it's because trying to do it in the timestamps was really ridiculous because there's like so many little parts. But the good part is this. They did all the scripture questions in the beginning, and that's like all James. It's like all James. We're not doing that. We're hopping straight to the lifestyle questions where it is a lot of James, but also a lot of Erika. So that's where we're going to start. Sorry, my chair is like leaning to the left. That's where we're going to start. And then we're going to watch them together. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that they say. And we're going to have fun with it because, like, one of the things that, like, a lot of the community here, a lot of you guys write to me, whether it's like in a comment or it's like in an email, that it's nice to be able to laugh at some parts of this because, man, is it so sad and so dark. We might even watch the very beginning. I have to remember if that part came in the very, very beginning All right, let me start out with a couple things. Let me rewind a little bit, okay? If you guys haven't done so already, please do me a favor. Hit the like and the subscribe. It is the best way to help support this channel, this community, and me. And I really, really appreciate it, okay? Hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, making sure that your notification bell is clicked to all will ensure that you guys get notified when I go live. I had someone email me and they were like, man, I missed the live. Like, I didn't get notified. And I was like, well, make sure that you're not just subscribed. You got to click the bell and make sure you click all, or else it goes to like personalized or none or something like that. And she's like, no, I did. I have it. It just still doesn't notify me. And I'm like, well, that sucks. I don't know what to do about that. If like you're subscribed, you have the notification clicked on, and YouTube is still not notifying you. And I think that's like actually happening with more than one person. But I was like, this is another good thing about why I do the shows the way that I do. Every day, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when I do the show. And it's turned out to be like a good thing that we do the show the exact same time every day. You all can count on that time slot every day. And I'll notify you guys if like I'm not doing a live or if I have to switch it to a different time. Okay. Like tomorrow, okay, we're going to be doing a live at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time because I'm going to be interviewing. He's going to be a guest on the show. Mitchell Manley. He is Charlie Kirk's favorite. He was Charlie Kirk's favorite cameraman. And he worked for TPUSA for 13 or 14 years. Very, very close with Charlie, and had been had been completely silent for a while because of working situation, like still working there. And then after there, he was working for like Maricopa County and didn't want to put his job in jeopardy. Maricopa County is like in Arizona. That's like in the belly of the beast. You know what I mean? And so he was trying to not get fired. And then he got fired, and he's like, screw it. Like, now I'm definitely going to say everything I have to say. And he's been going pretty max on X. He goes by Artifacts, and he's really cool, really down to earth, really smart, very intelligent and articulate. I could see why Charlie liked him, and he was like Charlie's favorite cameraman. And he's coming out with a lot of good inside information and shedding light on things that a lot of us on the outside of TPUSA and the outside of, Charlie Kirk's life, we never got to see those things and hear those things and know some of these pieces of information. And so it's going to be very important for everyone to mark your calendars for tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Here on the Black Line Brief, we will have Mitchell Manley, Charlie Kirk's favorite cameraman. All right. Also, just a word to get the administrative stuff out of the way in the beginning. We are on, please, if you guys would all do me a favor, not right now, okay, but like later or when you remember, we're on Spotify. Please go over there, and I don't know if it's called subscribe or follow on Spotify, but it's the Black Line Brief. It's the same logo, the red one with the black in the back. Just follow, subscribe, and we need to get the watch hours up on there. If anyone would be able to put it on, and you could even just like, put the volume down and just like let it play, or you could find your most favorite video that I did where I made you laugh the most and just revisit it over there and throw a comment and, help that site start to recognize that, hello, we exist. We have people that watch this show. Please pay attention. So that helps. We're also on Apple Podcasts, so you can watch it there. We're also on Rumble, Twitch, and Kick, all of which I like. Rumble and Twitch and Kick is like I think a lot younger demographic of people that view from there. But just in case people are coming in, they're like, hey, why aren't you over here? We are. Obviously, this would be my ideal place for everyone to view. Because this is like home base for me, and this is the live chat where like I can see and I can interact with you guys, and you guys can do super chats and I can answer and read your comments. So it's going to be the most interactive place. And also, as we grow, I'm trying to plan it with my brother-in-law, what the schedule will be for member-only lives and how we're going to do it, because we're also going to have to find a way to do stuff for like all those other platforms where people are viewing from as well. Also, lastly, sorry guys, getting it out of the way. Lastly, the first week of August, my family and I are going on vacation for my birthday. I'll be 42 on August 5th. I'm a Leo. What can I say? And I'm going to do one of a couple things. I'm either going to pre-record like interviews and have them uploaded like one per day for you guys to watch, or I might do that plus do some lives from vacation. And you guys, I don't know, maybe I should ask you guys what you would like. I can't do a poll because I have the poll going still and not enough people have been able to vote yet. But maybe in the chat, you guys, you so young, Matt. Thanks. I appreciate that. You guys can maybe in the chat tell me, what would you like? Would you guys like some pre-recorded videos? Or would you like me to do some lives from my vacation, which I'd be totally down to do. And I've already talked to my wife and kids that it'd be okay to do. We might not be doing a 3-hour live like we do here, but it'd be still good to do like an hour and a half, something like that, 2-hour lives. Let me know if you guys would be down for that, which one you guys would like. Okay. All right. Without further ado, my name isn't up there. My brother-in-law would be unhappy with me. There you go, bro. It's up. We're ready to go. Okay. Maybe I need to let it play a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you what I was talking to my wife about in relation to Erika Kirk. So here we go. Oh, did I miss the beginning though, where she was? All right, let's start here.
Allie. My name is Ellie and I'm 15 years old. When it comes to submitting to authority, like it talks about in the Bible and like how most people are taught from an early age, how do you know when the proper time to submit to authority is? Like, for example, should you abstain from challenging authority when you don't think what is happening is right? Or should we always obey no matter the circumstance? Is there a certain time to obey and a certain time to challenge it? This reminds me of Charlie in 2020.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, if you really think about it, it also reminds me of where I was in 2020.
Mhm.
I mean,
I gotta make everything about me.
She's talking about Charlie. He goes, actually, if you think about it, every time you talk about Charlie, I gotta say, actually, everything's about me, James Kaddis. You gotta talk about me. And remember, he's like, I am Charlie. He goes like, Charlie is my little brother. I'm just like Charlie. Charlie is just like me. You're just like my wife. My wife is just like you. We're like all the same. Nope. Sorry, man. So this is what I wanted to say about Erika Kirk. I have this really, I don't know, unique ability to, like, literally I can put myself into a situation, like, mentally. I can like close my eyes and I can picture a situation, and I can like viscerally, I could like feel what that's like. I'm serious. So this is 10 months after the assassination. However, she was doing this like immediately. She was like on day 3 out there, just like this. Okay. But I was thinking, like, what would it be like genuinely, like really allow myself to envision my life without my wife. And like, I went from like immediately day one, what would it be like? What would I be like? What would be happening with me and my daughters, my family? Envisioning my daily life, waking up every day, empty bed, walking around the house, everything reminding you of her, you know? Man, like I get choked up just thinking about it. I was in the car thinking about this and I got sick to my stomach. And I don't know how this woman was able. I know they tell us like, oh, it's because of God. Oh, it's because she's just so strong. Her walk is just so amazing. And I was like, no, there's just no way that you can just do that so quickly and be able to just handle all of this the way that she did, you know? For me, it's just not believable, you know, because I see she sits here on month 10 and is going to engage in conversations about Charlie as if she lost him 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Okay. It's not even been a year. It's not even been a year. Some people don't even make it to acceptance in like in the stages of grief. Many people, when they lose a significant other, a best friend, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, they don't make it to that final stage of grief for years. For years. Some people spend more time in different stages, but ultimately that process of grief is pretty universal and everyone goes through it a little bit differently, but nonetheless, everybody goes through those 5 stages. Erika skipped them all. She just arrived at acceptance. She just began at acceptance. And today, no different. I guess, I mean, what was I going to expect? You know, like, were we going to see her? I mean, she does pretend to like grieve at different times. I really thought like, you know, this is her first Bible in 365 episode podcast show with James Kaddis since the prelim. Like maybe she's going to be a wreck, you know, because like she's saying like she watched that high def 4K, you know, super clear video of Eagle Boy, you know, well, Eagle Boy, Tyler Robinson, on the roof, you know, assassinating her husband. And it was like the most graphic, you know, horrific video she's ever seen. She broke down in court and just couldn't handle herself and like wish she didn't see it, you know, that this was going to linger with her. Nope, not at all. So I just want you guys to keep in mind that like we're watching this woman up here and she'll talk about Charlie as if this is something that's happened a long time ago, because the level in which she's able to like talk about him in the past tense and not in the present tense be emotionally affected by that is literally insane, in my opinion. It really is. So, all right. Oh, and by the way, did you not hear this was a 15-year-old girl writing in? Do you think a 15-year-old girl is writing into James Kaddis for lifestyle questions? That this 15-year-old girl wants James Kaddis to answer her 15-year-old little girl question. No, not at all. Let me read this. Hey, you. People with sociopathic traits typically do not go. Yeah, exactly. I like you. Hey, you. Do not go through the standard stages of grief because they lack the emotional attachment and empathy that drive those stages. Just food for thought. 100%. And that's like what I was pointing at, is that there is something different about her, not in a good way. Yes, we all want to be different. We don't want to be cogs in the machine and robots and all the same, but you don't want to be different in this way, where literally it's like she is. And I know that Candace has kind of gone back and forth. Is she a technical psychopath? Is she a sociopath? You know, definitely one of the two, but I agree that her ability to not experience those stages personally is why she can't perform any of those stages for us. Like, that's why we didn't see her go through that state, those stages of grief, is because she can't experience them herself, because she's not able to like feel those feelings in each stage, you know? She's just walking around in acceptance on day one, you know? She's just day one in acceptance. That's why, like, day 2, day 3, she's like, I'm so excited. I'm just so excited. That's why she's like on that Zoom call meeting. She's like, woohoo, we pulled off the event of a century. Money, 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 money. We made so much money. Charlie be so happy for the money we made. Oh my gosh, you guys. Bro. All right, here we go. James Kaddis. What does her say? Forever Kirk? What is that? What does the little Romans? Oh, it's one of his favorite passages, probably his one of Charlie's favorite scriptures. Why does she need 2 crosses? Is one cross not doing the job? I mean, that's a little bit over the top. Do you really need 2 crosses? I mean, that's just like par for the course for Erika. She's like, yeah, I really need them to believe. I need everyone to believe I'm like really a Christian. One cross is kind of just like, maybe she's a Christian. Maybe she's like that chick on the whatever podcast that thinks it's fetch and she's just wearing it because it's cute. I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I need to send the message that I am for sure a holy person, and I need 2 crosses to do the job.
I was very specifically targeted by the governor of the state of California during that time, and we were telling him, get lost. Like, this is, we're going to do what we're going to do. Look, the Bible definitely teaches submission to authority, okay? But it does not teach blind obedience. I think that's kind of the big thing that we have to understand, okay?
Right.
Every human authority, the Bible tells us, is under God's authority. Now, that means that government officials...
Okay, pay attention. How many times are you going to say, Also, ask yourself, would this show be any different if she wasn't there? Like, is she actually contributing anything meaningful that makes this show better? It will when we get to her little parts, but overall, like, just saying all the time really isn't adding anything to this. And furthermore, she is the CEO, right? The CEO of a $500 million Christian political organization that is replacing the RNC. Also, she, says that I don't know if she's still in the doctorate program for, what was it, like biblical teaching, something, leadership. She presents herself as this educated, knowledgeable, experienced, professional businesswoman, Christian leader, role model that is well informed, that knows the Word of God. She has this Bible in 365 app where she felt that she was, and that's interesting. I'll have to get into that when he talks about that later. I'll make sure I'll make a note so I bring it up, but that she presents herself as someone that knows things and has things to offer, like advice, wisdom, instructions, even prescription, like she'll, prescriptively, you should do this. So, I mean, she should be doing so much more of presenting who she is on this show as well. This would be a great opportunity for her to show the world that, like, she really is Charlie's other, like, equal, like female equal, right? That's what they sell to us, that Charlie was preparing her, God was preparing her, Charlie was taking her into the office every day, teaching her, transmuting her to become CEO. Like, that was the plan, right? And that she is Charlie's female counterpart, equal as him. And yet when she speaks, you get this impression that she is just not any of that at all.
Parents, teachers, pastors, even employers.
Right.
They all have legitimate authority, but none of them has the right to command us to disobey God.
Right.
Romans 13 speaks of that very, very clearly. It teaches us that governmental authority, like I said earlier, is ordained by God, but that's only subject to what God tells us to. They represent God and his purposes. Ephesians tells us the same thing. You know, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. So if your parents are telling you to do something evil, you have to be respectful to your parents and say, I just can't do it. The key word here is in the Lord. And that's really what matters. So our obedience to every human authority remains subject to our obedience to God. And you can't ignore that. Perhaps my favorite example of this is in Acts chapter 5. And it tells us that Peter and the other apostles answer to those that were accusing him, and they say, we ought to obey God rather than men. Now, they made a calculated decision. And I want people to understand this. They made the decision to disobey governmental authority, but they also recognized the fact that they were going to take the punishment that came as a result of it. It wasn't like they went in and you know, with a bunch of guns blazing and decided to just fight the government in that way. You know, the government ordered the apostles in that context to stop preaching about Jesus. They respectfully refused because they knew obeying that command would require them to disobey the Lord. Matter of fact, what it would do is it would require them to become something God never intended for them to be.
Right.
Daniel's a great example. You know, he continued praying when the government prohibited it. If you remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, those are their Babylonian names. Mishael, Azariah, and Hananiah was their actual names. They refused to worship the king's image. So another example of this are the Hebrew midwives. They're real heroes in my.
You guys, this is today. This came out today. Sorry. Jane Seth Rupert. What is the date on this? She does one per month. Yes, she does one. So it's typically like the third. No. It's typically the second Friday of the month. But she had to push it from last Friday to this Friday because she was in the courthouse, right? She was getting the judge to release the Lance Twiggs interview video and pushing for them to play that high def 4 quality surveillance footage that shows Tyler Robinson taking the shot. She had bigger things to do, right? So they pushed it to this, to today. But this literally aired at 2 p.m. today, and she does it once per month with James, and it kind of fluctuates depending on her schedule. And sometimes she's not there, and they have some other stand-in girl. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Jane.
Opinion. They refused Pharaoh's order to murder the children. All of these people didn't rebel merely because they disliked the rule. There's a lot of people that rebel because they dislike rules, and that's just baloney. They refused because obedience would have required them to sin. I think that's probably the important thing. So, helpful way to think about this. If an authority tells you to do something you dislike, submit. I mean, reality, okay? But if an authority makes a decision that you believe is unwise, well, okay, you can respectfully question it. You can appeal it, okay? But disagreement alone doesn't justify your disobedience. Now, if an authority tells you to sin or to participate in wrongdoing or to deny Christ or violate some clear biblical command or some command of God, well, you got to obey God.
Bam. Why can't Erika, you know, she's sitting across from this man. Why can't she take his advice? Do you think that people at TPUSA are for sure not submitting to God's authority right now? Are they being honest? Are they truth tellers? Are they a light on a hill? No. Are they even being honest with Charlie's legacy? No. And then there's like much deeper theological, spiritual components here where it seems like they're doing like significantly evil things, right? Like everything with Israel and like saying like, oh no, the whole Jeffy Epi thing, we should just move on. Nothing to see, you know. everything that Charlie was fighting for and against in the end, they've completely switched and flipped on. I mean, there's been a mass exodus of college students, volunteers, employees from TPUSA, and that are speaking out against Erika, about TPUSA, about its leadership, about the decisions they've made and continue to make, things they've said, things they keep saying. And yet, we don't see why these two can't see that when they're saying a lot of these things in this show, they don't think it applies to them. You know? Also, James is not healed. I know. What do you know? So the reason why I did that poll was because James says he has a neurological condition, okay, which makes him supposedly involuntarily, he does this when he talks. He says that's a nerve condition. Mystic, I'll get to that in a second. I'll be right there. Hold on. That he's had, I don't know, for however long he said he has it, right? Well, last Friday, after the courthouse, he was interviewed. We played it for that whole interview. He doesn't do it once. Okay. A nerve condition is not something you can turn on, turn off, like a tick, right? You don't choose when to do it. Yes, stress, lack of sleep, anxiety, frustration, things like that can trigger it to happen more frequently. But it's not something you can like will it away, right? You can't like control it and like just make it not show up for like 10 minutes, you know? What I have found out, because I've watched way too many hours of this dude, he does it performatively. You'll even notice here, there's going to be portions where he's not doing it, and it's when he's not performing in his capacity as a prophet, as a pastor, when he's, you know, transmuting the word of God for us. When he's just like talking about things, doesn't happen. But it's like, it's this like emphasis, this like spiritual thing, you know, like, you know how like, I don't want to call anyone out, but you know, when you're in church and, you know, some people want to be perceived like really holy, right? And how they worship and how they pray. And it's like this extra performance that they add on to it to accentuate some sort of thing that's lacking inside. Because there's no need to do any of those performative things to come across or to be perceived more genuine, more authentic, more knowledgeable, more spiritual, more holy, more Christ-like. And if you watch, that's exactly what James does. Yeah. And so, I mean, I didn't need this one thing to be one more thing where I'm like, oh, you're a fraud. But like after watching him more and more and more, I'm like, oh, you're just doing that. That's just a thing you do. Because if it was a nerve condition, bro, you couldn't just not do it. It's not, it doesn't work like that. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, I read that one. Let me read this one. Mystic. Okay, they all moved straight to acceptance. This is God's plan. Charlie is so happy with this, or Charlie is so happy this happened to him, right? They did say that. He'd never dream of undoing it because the widow. Oh, hey, look at all this money. I mean, oh, how this benefits us. I mean, the Lord. Did I do that good? Did I do that good? Hopefully I did it justice. Hopefully that's how you heard yourself in your head when you wrote it. Hopefully. Also, let's see if this is, this is a good time to read this, just to give a little context. I need to make sure I get this in order. All right, let's see. Man, hold on. I have, the person has to remain anonymous, but my wife knows people that knew Charlie, like knew Charlie, and that met Erika, and a certain pastor that was Rob McCoy, right? Charlie's pastor, which I know Charlie did say it, right? Like it was up for debate for a little while, but I do know that Charlie did say it. I knew it at least happened once. I think it like on camera, it's like twice. But he also said that, you know, James Kaddis was their pastor. So but here, I got to see the order so that I make sure I get this in the right order. I want to read just, okay. Well, if it's not in the right order, it'll still make sense. Like, hey, yeah, they are all blind and brainwashed. Just the narrative about the 30-06 makes no sense. And any hunter, gun owner knows that. You know, I'm just continually heartbroken how betrayed Charlie was. He loved these people so much. The first night I met him, he was telling me how much he loved and respected Don Jr. And Don completely betrayed him. I agree with that. Charlie spoke at our church so often that I stopped going, and I knew he was speaking. Know that Charlie did call Rob his pastor. Yeah, I know. And our church, his home church, in 2019-21, but that he definitely, so this is the part that definitely changed in the last years. Him and Rob had a type of falling out where Charlie was distancing himself from Rob. Let's see. Yeah, it was something about Israel. Now I know. Oh, wait. I had to unfollow Charlie the last year because I felt he was too easy on Israel. Now I know he was just under donor pressure. I truly believe in the end, Charlie started to wake up and see the snakes around him. I agree. Let me see. Oh, that's just the same one. Yeah, I got to make sure there's no. Where's the one about Erika? Yeah, I don't know where the one's about Erika. I thought I had it. Hold on. Continually. Yeah, I don't know. Sweetie, you didn't send me the one about Erika when they met Erika and the feeling that they got about Erika. That was the part I wanted to read too. All right, let's continue.
Dead. And so that's the idea. Now, by the way, if someone places you or another person in danger, or asks you to conceal abuse, or tells you to do something that's sexual or criminal or seriously harmful.
What about partaking in an assassination, a murder, or even, I was talking about this with someone that like, I think it's Manley. Mitchell Manley. He believes that the donors, I'm pretty sure this is what, where he's at in this, that, or was that Trillion, the other guy? Anyway, that the donors are really the ones that need to be looked into more, that like they have the most motive in this, right? And that they were the ones putting the most pressure on Charlie before his assassination. And that Erika and people at TPUSA maybe didn't have as much of a part in this before, but that definitely after they were either blackmailed, threatened, or bribed, or all the above. And I don't know, maybe you guys can weigh in the chat. Like that's one of the things that I think we're all trying to figure out is everybody's involvement, to what degree and to when. For sure, I think we all agree that after September 10th, they all never, like all of them around, TPUSA and the Calvary Chapel pastors and, everyone at Turning Point haven't acted normal once. Like we haven't seen them act in any kind of typical, traditional, normal way. And get that out of here with everybody grieves differently. How about, shut up? Like they didn't grieve at all. You know, Jack and freaking Andrew Colvette the next day were like, it wasn't even 24 hours yet. And they were like, you know, Charlie would have wanted us to go live yesterday, you know? And then they go out with the whole, like, they're like laughing and like giggling like the next day. I just can't with these people. Hold on. I think she maybe sent it to me, the part where these individuals met Erika. Okay. I will tell you this. From the moment I met Erika, I did not like her. Something about her made my skin crawl. And at the time, I thought I was just being petty, but now I know it was my spirit having an issue with the demon inside her, you know? Yeah. And these individuals are very invested in this situation because of how much, you know, they knew and loved and followed Charlie. Yeah. Oh, and I know all the players well, very intimately, and it's truly heartbreaking. So a lot of good-hearted, honest Christians that knew all of these people, Charlie, Erika, people at Turning Point, the pastors, Rob McCoy, Jack Hibbs, James Kaddis, you know, Frank Turek, Greg Laurie, honest people that aren't being brainwashed, right? That are thinking for themselves and just looking at all the information and weighing it in and being led by the Spirit, right? And not being freaking, you know, just robotically controlled, are all coming to the same conclusions that we are. That it just, there's something wrong with Erika. There's something wrong with everyone there at TPUSA. And people even like these individuals that add an even closer, intimate look and, you know, experience, know or feel at least that something ain't right. Something's just not right on a very, very demonic, deep, disturbing level. So I just wanted to add that to let you guys know we're not crazy. Okay. Good Christian people that knew them feel the same way. We're not crazy. Don't let people gaslight you. Don't let people try to flip this on you and say that you're not a good Christian, say that you're evil, you're demonic. Nope. Nope. Don't let it happen.
You cannot remain silent, right? Like you got to run away, get away as far from the situation as you possibly can, and you need to immediately tell a trustworthy adult who can intervene. Now, I bring this up because I have been in situations where there have been, forgive me for saying this, idiot pastors that have told women that they have to submit to authority when their husbands beat them, right? No, sorry. That's no, you leave and get that pile of garbage in prison. Right. Okay. It's you just don't do that. Okay. And I think that that's really, really, really important. By the way, I should say this. This is another aspect, and this is something that Charlie would probably have wanted me to say. Okay.
You don't know that, bro. Like Charlie's not here. This is these kind of statements that they all make. Like Charlie would want me to say this. Charlie, you know, like, no, how about you just say the thing that you're going to say without saying Charlie said this, without proving Charlie said it, or without saying Charlie believed this or felt this way or told me one time, or Charlie would want me to say this. It is so incredibly morbid to speak on behalf of someone that's no longer here, you know, especially when everything this guy is such a Zionist. He has a menorah on his pulpit. He has a picture of Israel behind him. It's not there now. Right now, it's the Bible in 365 Proclaim, you know, backdrop. He doesn't hide it. He's friends with generals and majors and in the IDF. You know, he's like this with BB's brother, with freaking Victor demonic Satan man Marks. He says he's unashamed, and he proclaims, to use their pun, that he's a Zionist and that everyone should be a Zionist if they want to follow the scriptures and if they're real Christians.
Challenging authority is not automatically rebellion. Like I need people to understand this. Okay. Daniel respectfully appealed the king's command concerning food by proposing an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked, right? Or
so far, Erika, I paused it because this I wanted to get the super chat that someone just put in, and it had to do with the comment, the thing that I just read, and I wanted to be able to be in context. I'm driving faster. Drive safe though. 10-2, bro. 10-2. Thank you, because people do say that, but deep down in our hearts, we know this is wrong. Thank you. Yeah, I know. The level of manipulation and gaslighting and trying to guilt us in different conversations with whatever relationship we have with other people, whether it's like family, friends, coworkers, and this topic comes up. Sadly, it's very polarizing. It's very dividing. But just us holding this belief, this feeling, this intuition, right? This discernment from the Holy Spirit that something really deep is troubling and wrong here. People just gaslight the heck out of us, and it's just, don't let it happen. Just tell them to take a hike, go fly a kite, kick rocks.
Paul, this is my favorite one. Paul used his legal rights. I mean, his legal rights as a Roman citizen to actually fight something that was actually being done unjustly. Mm-hmm. So there are these rules that happen that you can actually do this. And, we talked about 2020. This was one of the major issues that we confronted in 2020. The question was never simply whether the government possesses authority. We know that they possess authority. It does. The question was whether that authority was unlimited. And guess what? It wasn't unlimited. Okay. Mm-hmm. Government cannot take the place that belongs to God alone. So these are the things that you have to think about. And that's why you should be mindful of this. Ask these questions. Am I, being required to violate scripture, or do I merely dislike the decision?
Do you think people at Turning Point, the lower employees, not all the evil ones at the top, do you think, and even the students in the chapters, without them really thinking about it, that they're being told either directly or in a roundabout way to disobey the scriptures? Yeah, I would say so. Yep, I would say so. I'm going to hit play in a second. Hold on. I just saw this one. Matt, Sheldon and Miriam Adelson made the mark. Yeah, I think they had a huge part in this. I think they made the mark on Trump, and I think they played a big role in this. And I don't know if you guys saw the BB Files. It's a documentary, and it's on Amazon. You'll see the kind of investigation, criminal investigation, that was, and I don't know if it's just put on pause right now because they're in a war, right? On Bibi Netanyahu, right? And they bring Miriam in and depose her, right? And, or, interrogate, they interview her. And it's really insightful to the level, like, she makes it, I don't know if she's actually afraid. She's like, he's going to kill me if I say something, right? They can watch this feed live probably from wherever he is in his suite. Like, you're asking me to do something that's going to get me killed. You know that, right? He'll do anything. Like, he's not accountable to anyone. So yeah, that's how close they are to Netanyahu, which is like Satan incarnate,
Those are the types of questions you need to ask, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things you should ask is, do I understand the situation completely? What does the law really say? Not what does somebody tell me the law says. You have to go and you have to do it.
Do not murder. Do not participate in the planning, execution, or cover up of the unlawful taking a life of someone. How about that?
Have you raised the concern respectfully? Have you used the system that God has given you to appeal it? The bottom line is, you do not submit when submission requires evil.
Yeah. You do not submit when submission requires evil. All right. Okay, I'm going to put out a news, I don't know, what do you call it? Like address the nation, right? But like TPUSA employees, TPUSA volunteers, I'm speaking directly to you. Per Erika Kirk's agreement to James, you do not obey when they are telling you to go along with any of this evil stuff that completely is in contradiction to the word of God and to what Charlie stood for, lived for, and died for. So you have it straight from the horse's mouth, James Kaddis, and his, little minion, Erika, that you have a biblical Christian obligation to not obey and follow orders when they are unjust, not biblical, evil, unlawful, all of which is happening, in my opinion. Once again, I got to say this multiple times, but everything I say in this show is my personal opinion and not a statement of fact, although I do believe it does match up with reality. Okay. But what up, Corby? Dude, Corby, you guys, you're the owner. I want to say right, CEO, owner, creator of Fold AR, which I saw that one that's coming out. Leslie was like, I got to get me one of these. I was like, I got to get me one of these. I don't know if they're all like pre-sold or whatever, but the one with the 300 blackout, it was like really cool, dude. I want me one of those. So I might need to email you or message you and get on the list somehow. All right, Corby, thank you for your super chat. What we are watching is the false light spirit Lucifer infiltrating the body of Christ. This is why believers are warned over and over to not be deceived by those within the church. The worst wickedness comes from within. Yes, I agree 100%. One of the things that is this debate or whatever is like, what is evil? Like, what is really evil? Is someone evil? Like, or what's the most evil? I don't know. I guess like there's so many different levels, but in my opinion, one of the worst evils is not evil that presents itself as evil, where you can identify it as evil straight out the gate, right? Where they're not hiding anything. They're not trying to camouflage themselves. They're evil. They're proud of it. And they're not hiding anything. There's that. Or there's this other kind of evil, okay, that portrays itself to be godly, to be Christ-like. It is a mask, right? It is a wolf that is in sheep's clothing. False teachers, false preachers, false prophets, false Christians. That is one of the most, if not the most evil thing I can think of. People turn to fellow Christians, to pastors, preachers, and Christian leaders for the most important life, advice, spiritual advice. It is not just, don't fear the man that can destroy the body. Fear the one that can destroy the soul. These people we look up to because our soul is tied to this information, the Bible. What we believe about it, what we're taught, it says. What we're told and instructed, it tells us what to do, how to live. And these people pretend to be at the top of that. James even calls himself a prophet, one that speaks on behalf of God. And yet, in my opinion, inside, they serve Lucifer. That is a level of evil that if I ever get mad about, hurting, the elderly, special needs, children, women, animals, people that can't, or, animals and people that can't defend themselves. I have no tolerance for that. That is evil. But also people that portray themselves to be, like Christians and pastors that are not. That's just like a whole nother evil that makes me so, so angry. Now that's righteous anger, all right? Not this whole thing that Erika and James talk about.
Just don't.
Amen. Our next question,
Amen.
The individual wanted to remain anonymous. They asked, why does God allow for infertility when we are told to be fruitful and increase in number to fill the earth in Genesis 9? Do you have advice about how to not be mad at others who have newborns after miscarriage and infertility struggles after trying for years?
Yeah, I have great advice. Adopt. Look, the command to be fruitful and multiply.
Okay, here's another good question, ladies and gentlemen. Think about if Charlie was on this podcast with James, would it be 90% James and 10% input from Charlie? No, it'd be 50-50. If not, Charlie would probably have way more to say than James. I think Charlie was in such a better position to answer any biblical question and any life question. Okay. Why? So Erika is touted out to us as being Charlie's replacement, right? That Charlie actually trained her, that she was his number one and only choice to carry on his legacy, to run his organizations, and to be, his replacement. Like, she should at least be able on her own to do anything, like do something, like give us something that shows that you actually can be the CEO, that you are some sort of any kind of authority on anything that you proclaim to be. Nothing. She gives us nothing, just silence and head nods and mm-hms and totallys and amens. She's got nothing to say. It's so obvious that there's no freaking way that she was Charlie's replacement, that Charlie wanted her to take over the organization, that Charlie was training her. Remember, we visited that last night because she went on Glenn Beck, or she spoke with Glenn Beck just days after the assassination, and said that Charlie was inadvertently or unknowingly preparing her for this role through writing in his personal journals that she never read. And as long as he was alive, she was never going to read. So his intent in writing in those journals was not to train and equip and prepare her for this role. Okay, so then he wasn't intentionally preparing her for this role. He didn't want her to take this role. And he definitely wasn't bringing her into the office every day, teaching her everything.
It's not that it's just fulfilled by having babies natural born. If for whatever reason you are physically incapable of having children, well, guess what? You get to adopt children. And it's beautiful, right? And it's one of these things where you've been given by God this like amazing opportunity. Now, I said that passionately and quickly because all of my children are adopted, and I'm grateful to have them. And I think that I'm very much following that rule. But I do want to say this because I got a little like, oh man, I got to jump on this. Look, I am very sorry about how you feel. I want to acknowledge that because I think it's important. Look, infertility, especially within the context of trying again and again and again and miscarriage, there's very real grief in that context. As a matter of fact, the grief that comes from that is oftentimes worse than like if you were to go through a typical traditional scenario. So I don't want to start off by giving you a shallow explanation for something, but the scripture does give us some insight that we can grow and that we can learn from, okay? And so, again, the idea here is that the Bible gives us direction, and the Bible tells us that we're to be people who take advantage of every single moment that God has put in front of us to follow the initial instruction. And the initial instruction given to us with respect to being created in God's likeness and in his image also tells us to be fruitful and to multiply and to replenish and to have dominion over. These are things that the Bible actually tells us. So if a door is closed in one area, ask the Lord to give you wisdom to go through another door. Just because you're struggling with infertility or just because you've had some miscarriages doesn't mean that you cannot be a mother or a father. And I want you to really hold fast to that.
I want to ask you guys, okay, so we're that 15-year-old that wrote in, do you think she was hoping for like a 30-minute freaking monologue of how he answered that question? Like, I think these people just like to hear themselves talk, like his inability to just answer the question is crazy. It's like on the level of Erika. Maybe that's where she learned it. Maybe she learned it directly from James. But so much of this is just excessive, unneeded, over the top, compensation, performative, where it's just like, not everything is an opportunity for you to try to prove to everyone how smart and like, knowledgeable and wise you are. Like you could just answer, you'd get through more questions if you just answered the questions. Yeah, they're made up questions. Yeah, I kind of covered that too at the beginning. Like, are any of the people writing into any of these shows real? Oh, this is what I wanted to show you guys. My wife found this. Watch this. Guess what they have turned off? Oh, you won't be able to see it right now, but in the live, guess what they have turned off? And they love money. So then ask yourself, why would they have super chats turned off? They love money, right? They're sending letters to, struggling college students going into debt to give money to them, right? They are asking at every turn, even though they've already raised $500 million as of like a month ago, and they're still asking for more money from common folk. Why would they have the super chats turned off? Well, one of the things that you cannot control when you do super chats is what someone's going to ask. It's the same reason why after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, at all of the events that they go to where she's speaking or Andrew's speaking or one of them, they have the front of the line filled up with TPUSA students that are being paid to get up there, fill the front of the line. So no one with real questions that want to ask real questions of them, they never get the chance. So these softball employee students and some adults are put up there to ask questions that they already know are coming and that never touch any of the real questions that any of us have, right? And so for people that money is like a main driving factor in everything they do, the reason why they have the super chats turned off on their lives is because they can't control what people ask. They can control whether they click on it and make it show on the screen, but it still shows up in the live chat, which means it'll still show up in the live chat replay, which means if they don't answer that one, everyone will know that they didn't answer it on purpose because they see it. They get a notification as well. They can see it. So they cannot take the chance that someone's going to ask a question that they have to answer or that gets put on the live chat where everyone can see and that they are intentionally avoiding answering. So if they have nothing to hide, if they are completely innocent of everything and they could answer any question honestly, then why would they have that turned off? They wouldn't. That's the point. They're afraid of the questions. They're afraid of the accountability. There is no transparency. They are scared. So they don't even give us the opportunity, not at their live events, when they're doing events that aren't TPUSA events, Even then, though, remember that lady snuck in and she was like, Erika Kirk protects and PDFers, But yeah, they don't want any one of us to ask real questions of them.
Because coming from the perspective of a man who has 3 adopted children and hopes to adopt a few more, there is nothing better. There is nothing better than to raise children up as a mother or a father. And it's something that we love. And it's something that's very, very, very special. Now, concerning anger toward people with newborns, I want you to begin by being honest with God. I think this is going to be probably the hardest thing that I've said so far in this Q&A, okay?
I hate it because this is so new, like this literally came out at 2. When I put my cursor over the bar at the bottom, it doesn't show me the image. So I can't see like where it's at, and it's not going to let me hop to the place where I need it to be.
You can genuinely love someone and still feel devastated by what their blessing reminds you of in terms of what you've lost. I want to be careful how I say this. I don't think you're an unloving person by being hurt or saddened or even angry in some context.
Okay, I remember he just pretty much says that, like, if you're angry that, you know, other people are having children and you're not, like, don't be angry at them. You need to take that to God. Let me try to get a little bit further along so we don't, it's like a long thing to say nothing. He could have just said it in a much shorter way.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can send a loving message or a gift without placing yourself wishing that their child had not been born. Very, very. God's goodness toward them is not evidence of his cruelty towards you, and it never will be. As a matter of fact,
I agree with that.
It may be the very opposite. Okay, it may be easy to say and extremely difficult to feel. I don't think you will, because you've asked us a question very publicly. Yeah, it could be a pastor. It could be, you know, somebody who will listen through.
I'm not going to keep doing that because it's going to hop, skip, and jump. It's going to sound bad. I'm just going to let it play through. We're going to just go through it.
These cliches. It's also wise to seek appropriate evaluation from medical professionals. Go to them, have them evaluate what's going on with your body. It could be a simple adjustment to be able to understand what's going on. But with that said, if it is a closed door, understand God may be opening an incredible door for adoption, and there's something very special about that opportunity. So I wanted to go back and revisit that a little bit, because I'm very excited about adoption, and I think that it's an awesome tool that God can actually use.
Yep.
The next two questions are individual.
So as a woman as well, right? Like as a mother, as she used to be a wife, but as a widow, Erika literally like could answer these questions. I mean, if she was genuine, authentic, and real, you know, but I think like her inability to just answer any question is just so telling as to what, or one of the things that is just wrong with who she is and what she's trying to pretend and get us all to believe she is.
Who are struggling with chronic illness. So I'll just do them back to back. Tammy asks, I have a chronic illness, and sometimes I feel like I'm being punished because in parts of the Old Testament, God punished people by giving them plagues, etc. I feel I have a relationship with God, and he has been next to me in the hardest of times. So why do I feel like an outcast? I want my relationship to grow without feeling guilty about my illness. And then JJ also adds with his question, how can one draw close to God when illness is keeping one out of fellowship, reading God's word, singing hymns, but I still am not feeling as close as I was in past times?
You know what I just realized, you guys? They have her read the questions, because if she didn't read the questions, she would literally just be sitting there the whole time going, totally, amen, for sure, her contribution, like I've said, is just, I don't want to be redundant and to beat a dead horse, but like it just struck me that like they have her read the questions because that's how they can get her to participate in this. Without her, the more she talks on her own, you're going to see the more you understand that she doesn't have anything meaningful to say, right? She's not that intelligent. She's not very articulate. Okay. She doesn't know the scriptures as she professes to know them. Right. Yeah. She doesn't have a lot of good advice to give.
Okay. So these are great questions. And I can say this with great confidence. I can, talk about this with great confidence because I deal with some physiological issues that can be very debilitating. And so I understand what that means and what that feels like. And sometimes we just have.
James, you're okay. His nerve condition. Okay. He was miraculously healed last Friday for like 8 minutes. It just was gone. But also, it's a self-inflicted wound. Okay, we listened to him say that his weight when he was like 1,000 pounds, like he literally was. He said that, right? He showed the photo of his like 6 foot, 7 foot door frame in his office, and he has his belt, and it's like 10 feet from when he was at his heaviest, right? And the reason why he was heavy, because he was a destructive eater. His words, he was a destructive eater. Okay. He ate his demons. I don't know. Or he fed his demons through eating. You know, one of the things he said was that, like, before meeting his wife, he had never dated anyone. And it's like, yeah, if you're 1,000 pounds and you can't walk and you can't get out of bed and you have a roto scooter to go everywhere, I don't know many girls that are going to want to date you. I don't think that you were intentionally celibate, bro. Like, I think it was just an outcome of you being 1,000 pounds. Okay. And just not a good person too, but like the weight didn't help. But being a destructive eater is what causes his weight that came from being a destructive eater is what he says causes his neurological or nerve issues that he has. That's not some disorder or condition that he was born with, okay? It was something he did to himself. And somebody mentioned it earlier, like gluttony is one of those, you know, like not good sins, right? Well, none of the sins are good, but like gluttony is a sin. He said that not only did he not date, he said that he never lusted over a woman. Okay? He said in the whole entire time he was dating, engaged to his wife, he never had one impure thought of her. He said he lusts over steak. Yeah. Okay. Just want to point that out there. So he's going to now talk about his neurological condition as if it's something that like he was born with, or like he had no control, or like he had no part in it. He did. And, you know, Charlie said one of, or if not the major mark of a mature Christian man was self-control. I agree. Young men don't have self-control, most, right? Part of becoming an actual man and a good Christian man is denying your flesh, like every day, all the time. You tell it what to do. You don't let your body tell you what to do. That's the difference between a good, mature Christian man and not. And yes, there's others, but that's a big one. That's like a really big one, because if you can be a good Christian man that tells your body what to do, you're on a good trajectory. Charlie said that himself. He has a Goodwill shirt on, and she ain't dressed any better. Yeah. Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. He's always dressed like that, though. It's crazy. But when he's still like 600 pounds. So, I mean, it's hard to find shirts that fit you. So I'm sure he has a certain amount of these shirts, and those are the shirts he wears. That's why they're so stretched out, and his collar has lost all of its elasticity. I feel bad for the shirt.
Have to understand some things that the rest of the world isn't going to understand if they're not feeling it, right? If they don't know it. So for both Tammy and is it JJ?
JJ, yeah.
Erika?
JJ.
Okay. So Tammy and JJ, look, chronic illness can create all kinds of things in your life. It can create physical pain and isolation. My favorite one to pick is exhaustion. Okay. It makes you tired a lot faster.
That's true.
It definitely is at the center of spiritual discouragement. I can tell you that right now. Those feelings are very real. Okay. They are created by the physiological condition that you are experiencing, especially when that physiological condition is related to neurology. So if you're dealing with a nerve disease of sorts,
she didn't ask you about a nerve disease. That's not what she said, but this guy can't pass up an opportunity to talk about himself and to try to make sure everyone knows that the reason why he's doing this and the reason why he's so big is because he has a neurological disability. It's not a choice, because he knows the moment we already know, but if anyone were to, like his congregants, his members at his church, or anyone that's like a Christian, like follows him or whatever, or is friends with him, like if they were to ever really find out that his neurological issue and his eating is because he has no self-control, like that's not a good look for a pastor, bro. Like you're supposed to be up there telling, and no one's without sin. I know that, but you're a pastor. That means you should at least be getting your sin under control, right? And especially if you're going to be a pastor, like you shouldn't have like a lot of sin. It should be like, well, okay, maybe you can make the argument like none at all, but like no man or woman can live without sin. So like there has to be some level of sin that even pastors engage in, but hopefully it's like minor white, I don't know, rate the sin, but whatever, you know what I mean. He should at least be an example, a model for others to look up to. And uncontrollable destructive eating is not a good look for a pastor. Just saying, okay?
Makes it 10 times worse. That happens to be the the fun one that I get to deal with. Now, those feelings are real, but they're not evidence that God has rejected you or that God is punishing you. In the Old Testament, God sometimes used disease as a very specific judgment against a particular people or even nations. However, you have to understand, the Bible never gives us permission to conclude that every illness is God's punishment for personal sin. As a matter of fact, the Bible tells us that's not the case. In John chapter 9, if you remember, the disciples saw a man who had been blind from birth and assumed that somebody must have sinned, and Jesus corrected them. He basically said, no, that's not the case. Jesus said, neither hath this man sinned, notice what he says, nor his parents. And then the reason why he says that person is blind is that the works of God should be made manifest in him. In other words, God saw that person worthy to be used by God, to glorify God, to allow his work to be done. Job is another perfect example of this. He suffered terribly, even though his suffering was not punishment for some hidden wickedness. As a matter of fact, the Bible says that Job was a godly man, perfect in the eyes of the Lord. Paul lived with a thorn in his flesh. That's what he talked about in the New Testament. God didn't remove the thorn in the flesh, despite Paul asking him 3 very specific times. Timothy experienced this recurring physical illness, if you can remember, with his stomach, that Paul actually talked about. And Paul actually left a person by the name of Trophimus behind because of the fact that he was sick. So none of these circumstances meant that God had abandoned them. As a matter of fact, some of these were people that were very anointed and very called by God. And
that's what he thinks of himself, that this neurological disorder is because he's just so anointed and called by God, that God has seen him so special that he knew he had to give him a thorn in the flesh, you know? Yeah. Hey, Jax, I wanted to ask, Charlie made the same mistake most men with options make. I agree. Are you talking about Erika? Write another chat. You don't have to do a super chat. Write another chat. I wanted to see your answer. But then I wanted to get this one out. We got Renan and Rhiannon. I'm really bad at reading people's handles. Sorry. Okay, look at Erika's hat. Forever Kirk. Is all I can see, but there is small writing I can't discern. It says Romans, and then it's Roman numerals. I think it's like 5, 7. Maybe when they do a shot back of her, I can pause it and we can see. But it says Romans something, and I know one of Charlie's like favorite verses was Romans 5. I'd have to look it up. But it's Romans. Charlie would say it a lot. And I'm pretty sure that's why, or we could look it up once we see what it is, what the actual scripture verse is, but it says Romans something. I guess she didn't get the memo that we're all referring to her as Erika Francevay. Yeah, nah, she didn't, or she got the memo, but like, she doesn't care. She's Erika. She could do whatever.
So you have to go back to the Romans principle and just understand that God's not condemning you here, and there's no condemnation, especially if you're in Christ Jesus. So God can discipline his children, certainly. He does that, right? But biblical discipline is very purposeful, and the people who are being disciplined as such are aware of the fact that it's happening. He doesn't leave us guessing that every diagnosis or painful symptom, or I have an arm ache here, or I'm having a hard time walking today. Those things are not, some unidentified punishment by God because of some unidentified offense. It just doesn't work that way, okay? Let me just say this. Over time, physical separation can begin to feel like separation from God as a result of chronic illness, but your ability to attend or sit in a building doesn't determine God's nearness to you. There are people who are not chronically ill who can't sit in a church building nowadays because of other circumstances that extenuate into their situation. I have lots of people that call me their pastor that have never stepped foot in my sanctuary and for different reasons unable to do it. There's people, you'd be surprised who they were if you knew, who call me their pastor but could never step foot into a church because of the situation that they face. So that's just very, very important to understand. And going back to JJ, look, the fact that you don't feel as close to God as you once did doesn't necessarily.
Wait, is Jake Gyllenhaal? Is Gyllenhaal with a J? My brother-in-law's dog is JJ. Maybe JJ wrote in. Yeah, like I don't know that these are real people, guys. There was like only 100 people watching this live, and if you go to read the comments, I don't know. I feel like it's TPUSA staffers, some family members that they're putting up to it. Most people aren't watching for them. They're like us watching, you know.
Necessarily mean that like he's moved out of the way or he's not with you. Okay. Illness and exhaustion, medication, like sleep disruptions. That's a big one, right? You know, pain, anxiety, all kinds of depression, all the things that I just mentioned can very much affect your concentration and your emotion. And your faith can never be measured solely by the intensity of what we feel. If that was the case, then we're all going to hell. It's really, really bad.
I want to let you guys know two things. And I've said this before. So when a live video comes out that day and I'm watching it through, because the whole video hasn't finished yet, the time markers, the timestamps aren't what they're going to be, right? And on top of that, right now, when I put my cursor over the little bar at the bottom, which allows me to skip forward, usually it'll show you a preview of the screen of like a little like screen at the bottom, which shows you like what it looks like at that timestamp, and it'll allow me to jump forward. It's not letting me do that. So not only was I not able to get the timestamp specifically, but it's not even allowing me to jump forward. So that's why if I just keep clicking it and try to get, it's going to be annoying, you guys. So I apologize. I'm going to try to get.
Sometimes drawing near to God means that you're continuing to trust what he has said when your emotions are completely unable to confirm it. And that's like that's a super, super important mindset to be able to have. And that's something that I've learned to live by, because the feelings in my body, if I went by those feelings, and me and God are having, we have a hate relationship, right? But that's not the case. And so what I would tell you is to keep reading the Bible, you know, sing the songs that God has told you to do, but don't turn those things into like some test that you have to pass to make God feel close again. That's just a lie from the enemy. Speak honestly to God. The Psalms, we just talked about this. The Psalms contain prayers from people who very much felt forgotten. David is a great example of this. You know, they felt very isolated and overwhelmed. God included those prayers in the Bible so that we could recognize the fact that when you lament before God, it's not unbelief. The whole book of Lamentations was Jeremiah lamenting before God when he saw the destruction of the southern kingdom at the hands of Nebuchadnezzar.
Come on.
Like, I can't leave, but I need fellowship. Illness, whatever it may be, it may very well limit your body, but it doesn't reduce your value.
I feel like a lot of the time too, he's speaking to himself. Like he's trying to convince himself, you know?
Okay.
Amen.
It doesn't cancel your place in Christ. It doesn't make you an outcast from God's family. There are things that people around me do every single day that most human beings take for granted that I can't do.
Like walk? Like put one foot in front of the other? Some people aren't able to do that because they've experienced some sort of horrific accident, dude. Can you imagine how they would feel knowing like you did this to yourself, bro? This is the other thing I didn't want to skip over, because he has these moments where you can totally tell. And you know what? Like, I don't feel bad. Okay. Yeah, I'm being very critical, harsh, but honestly, you guys, when you watched all these people over the last 10 months, and I've gone back and watched their stuff from before when Charlie Kirk was murdered, these people are straight up the most evil, diabolical people that I've ever seen. Okay. And so I don't feel bad. All right. At all. And of course, when I said that, now I lost my point of what I was talking about. Oh, his fake crying. Him and Frank Turek, how they, in these different moments, they act like they're getting all choked up. They do that thing with their voice that make it sound like they're about to cry. Erika does it too, but then they don't cry. It's like like Candace pointed this out, like especially these Calvary Chapel pastors are not actual Christians. Like a lot of them all have deep, deep ties to our intel services, our military intel services, foreign intel services like James and the IDF and Mossad. They've infiltrated the Protestant evangelical church in America and are performing and they're acting. This is not a real Christian pastor, in my opinion. Just like Rob isn't, Frank Turek isn't, Greg Laurie isn't. Okay, so when they do these things where they're like, I'm just so moved by this, and I'm just such a good Christian, and I'm so empathetic that like even just talking about this brings me to almost tears. No. BS.
Okay. You're not guilty because you're sick. And you're not forgotten because you can't presently participate in the type of things that you want to. Thank God for his love that's unconditional. Rest in that love and don't place your value on the sickness that you carry. View it as an asset, because that's how I view it.
Amen.
I view the illnesses that I deal with as an asset. They have taught me to become the man that I am. And I wouldn't be able to minister to the people that I minister to on a day-to-day basis if I did not have those things to contend with. So be encouraged, because God's with you. And I don't want you to ever forget that.
Our next question's from Carol. We talked about this in 2024, but it's helpful to just bring it up again. She asks, I want to know, if you get cremated instead of
Here we
buried
go.
in a casket, will you still be raised up for heaven, or is it a sin to be cremated? I don't think I will be able to afford the casket burial. I'm 62 on Social Security and have had breast cancer and other ailments.
Why would Erika read this question from a woman asking this question about cremation and burial when she knows that she just experienced this in such a profound and tragic and recent way that she isn't the one that this lady's clearly asking? This lady is not asking James for his opinion on this. This is a lifestyle question. It's not a scripture question. Okay. The people writing in follow Erika and this whole thing. They know that Charlie just died. They know that he was just buried. This woman wants to know Erika's opinion and point on this, pulling from her own life experience of what she just went through with Charlie. And Erika reads this and immediately looks up at the camera to allow James to answer it. Why can't she speak from her heart, from her own experience, to the people that are writing in? That's who they want to hear from. She can't. She's got nothing to give.
Okay, well, the answer to that is very simple. This doesn't have to be a long one. I can tell you this authoritatively, based on the Bible. You don't have an issue there. And I'll tell you why you don't have an issue. And I think it's really, really important to understand this. What cremation does is cremation literally accelerates what happens naturally when the body is actually buried. So if you were to cremate somebody today, you would look like somebody that got buried 50 years ago. That's just a fact. Everything kind of falls apart the same way. So no, it just doesn't work that way. And then thinking about how we know DNA and how it all works, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work that way.
Also, I want you guys to pay attention. It's been evident in other episodes with them that she feels like, obviously she's not going to say it, right? But to me, watching it, it looks like to me she doesn't want to be there, that she's bored and that she can't wait for him to shut up and to get through this so that she can check it off the mark, collect that check, and move on to the next thing. Like, this is just a thing she's doing that she has to do. It's like this obligation, you know, for her to have this or this company that makes money. This is a for-profit company. It's tied to Proclaim. All right. And she, time and time again throughout this episode, it's never been more evident to me than in this show that, like, she doesn't want to be there. That this is just like an inconvenience for her.
Cremation is not a sin. Your method of burial has literally no power to prevent God from resurrecting you. Let me just read to you. I just pulled it up because I think it's really important. It's 1 Corinthians 15:52, and it says this. It says,
all right, hold on.
When the resurrection happens. So you shouldn't feel guilty if you believe that you have to assume the financial burden that you can't afford. That's just crazy. I'm not calling you crazy, but it's crazy if anybody would put that on you. If cremation is what your family can reasonably provide or pay for, you know what? You can choose it and not worry about it. It's all it does is accelerates what happens naturally. I think that's an important thing. So you're fine.
Nothing.
Our next question's from Sarah.
She's got nothing.
I've started tithing, but I'm also trying to get out of debt. Scripture teaches both tithing and the importance of being debt-free, but I haven't been able to find clear guidance on which should take priority, excuse me. Even after looking through Pastor Kaddis's resources, biblically, should I continue tithing while paying off debt or focus on becoming debt-free first?
The other thing that these people do, so Jack Hibbs did it in his most, well, I don't know if it's most recent. It wasn't when he was with Frank Turek. It was when he was with these other people. Jack Hibbs was supposedly writing a book all last year, and miraculously, it got finished right when Charlie was murdered. And somehow it has to do with all that. It like ties in. They can't, like Josh Hammer can't pass up an opportunity, or Ben Shapiro can't pass up the opportunity to plug themselves, plug their book, plug their shows, go buy this, go read this, go watch this. Back to them. Every opportunity he's going to do it here. That's what I found. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, let me just simply say this. I have an immense love for Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey is incredible. And I love Dave Ramsey because Dave Ramsey encourages people to get out of debt who don't have any financial skill sets.
Yep.
That's why he does what he does. But it is not an unbiblical principle to be in debt. I want people to know that debt has a very useful tool, and it can carry a financial instrument that's really important. So if the goal right off the bat is just to get out of debt for the sake of getting out of debt because you think that that's the biblical thing to do, that actually isn't the case. Now, if I'm going into debt to go buy a boat that I can have recreational fun with, maybe that you might be able to argue that might not be a biblical. But if you're going into debt in order to produce an asset, I would argue that God gave us the instrument of debt to be able to produce wealth for our families. That's a whole other story, something we could talk about later. I think it's an important thing to be able to understand, because I would not be able to produce wealth for my children or my children's children if I did not understand the instrument of one of the financial instruments that's tied directly to debt. And I think that that's really, really important. Okay. Now, I need everybody to understand this. Tithing
is not biblical anymore. Nope. It's an Old Testament. Okay. And honestly, like, I don't know, I don't want to split hairs with everyone here, but like, if you were to go watch the Tucker Carlson, Nathan Apfel episode, he's done 2. He does a great job of explaining it, right? And showing the biblical, foundation that tithing is not a modern, it's not part of the church after Christ, right? It shouldn't have been. It wasn't in the early church, and they brought it back, Also, he's a pastor, and yes, pastors can be financially wise and can give advice. Erika's a CEO. She is the chief executive officer of a $500 million multi, organization, right? She has many of them that she's over. Okay. She also was married to Charlie Kirk. She also says that like she has all of this like real world corporate business experience and knowledge, right? She worked for the same real estate, company that held accounts for Jeffy Eppy, right? She supposedly started a nonprofit when she was 17. She supposedly started Proclaim and Bible365 on her own. She also said that Charlie was teaching her everything that he knew on how to run an organization. This organization, a massive one. Also, Glenn Beck said that in the journal that she now has was his budget for every year all the way up to like 2030 and including 2028, that it was basically like this blueprint, even the financials, at a financial blueprint for the organization, right? His blueprint. She would have you believe that he was teaching her all that he was literally preparing her to function as the CEO in his absence. Why would she not be able to speak to this question or give any kind of advice to this question? Yeah, she's just, she's just, yes. That's her contribution.
Was specifically required of Israel under the Mosaic law. In the New Testament, believers are commanded to give regularly. That's for sure. But they're also told to give willingly and generously according to what God has provided.
But not tithing.
So the New Testament does not place Christians under a legal requirement that every believer has to give exactly 10%. And by the way, let me speak very specifically to the 10% rule. Everybody says, well, I give 10% because that's what's in the Old Testament. Actually, if you followed Old Testament tithing law, you would be obligated to give roughly 23% of your income. Okay. That is a fact. That is materially, that is a fact. What you have to focus on is what second.
So actually, you guys should be giving more. You need to give me more. And remember, yesterday we played that clip where he was like, I am so financially good. Like, man, I am doing so good, both personally, my family, my personal businesses, the church. We're doing so good. We even need another building. But I need you to give more of your money to make that happen. And in fact, he's going to gloat in just a second that he is in competition with his own members at his own church to tithe them somehow. But he says he doesn't know because of his position. He makes it sure that he doesn't know who gives and how much they give, but he's still somehow trying to beat specifically like a few members in his own church to tithe them. And he's going to say that all pastors of their own churches should tithe all of their members, which I do think that that's a great thing. But I highly doubt that he's actually doing that. And like Jack Hibbs is doing that and Greg Laurie's doing that. Give me a break. Get out of here, dude. One Katie degree. Why does she look like Tracy Martin here? She does, huh? I know, right? They're like, the squinty eyes and high arched eyebrows. Did she get another lift? I can't stop seeing Tracy. Yeah, I thought that too. It's weird. It was like they like overlaid it. Wow, I just hit my mic. Sorry. It's like, who are we looking at right now?
Corinthians tells us in chapter 9, and it says, every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. That's what he says. So the idea here, and this is really, really important, is that you understand that, yes, God asks you to give. He asks you to tithe. You have to do it with the right heart. But I also think that the Bible says you should do it. But if you can't do it cheerfully, well, then you shouldn't do it at all. Now, the idea here behind it is that doesn't mean, well, I'm not cheerful, so I'm not going to do it at all. It means you have to study the scriptures and understand why it's such a powerful tool. Because when you take of your resources and you give of that to God, you will find a path for God's blessing. Now, I'm not saying this is not the health and wealth message that says, give me $10 and I'm going to give you 100 back. That's a lie. Okay. God does in many cases promise us the blessing of wealth, but he makes that very conditional. And the condition is, will you apply the principles of wealth? In other words, will you develop a skill set? Will you put your hands to the plow? Will you pursue that which is excellent? Will you actually learn how to multiply the money that you have? Wealthy people, I'm going to make myself very clear here. Wealthy people do not exchange their time for money. They actually exchange their money for time. Why? Because time is your most valuable asset. And the whole idea behind giving God a portion of your money speaks of the fact that money is not the major priority, that time in essence is, and what you do when you give to God speaks even more vividly concerning where your real priorities are. So the idea here is really, really critical. Now, I want to make this statement, okay? You have to go back to 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians chapter 8, where he speaks of having a willing mind. This is what he says. He says that you
I'm going to see if I pull up a different version of this, if it will show me the preview at the bottom. No, it still doesn't. Why doesn't it do that? That's so annoying. Oh my goodness. Because I'm getting annoyed with how much he's talking, you guys. So let's see if I do it this way, because I can see when she comes back on. Let's see, where's
you're good to get rid of that. It's important.
Yeah, hold on.
Whole other thing to say about that, which, by the way, one of these days we will do some financial education, and maybe we'll tie it to the Bible in 365. I got to talk to Erika about that. There's some really cool tools that we can do, biblical teaching on all of this. The other thing that I would say is increase your giving as the debt is reduced and your financial position improves. I've learned this, by the way. I've had the benefit of being around very wealthy people, and God has blessed me and my family considerably as well. The more God blesses you in this arena, the more you tend to give by default anyway. Okay? So create a strict budget. I think that's really important. Stop acquiring consumer debt. Don't be a consumer, be a producer. So if the kind of debt you want to take on is something that's going to help you produce, meaning it's tied to an asset, by all means, go ahead and do it. I'll give you an example of this. Don't go out and buy a truck and get into a $70,000 debt for that truck if you just want a shiny new truck. But by all means, if you want to go into debt for a $70,000 truck because that truck is going to be the primary tool used to bring money into your family, do it all day. Okay? It produces tax benefits. There's all kinds of things that can be done with the management of assets. The bottom line is this, okay? You're called by God to walk in faithfulness in a multiple set of areas. You want to honor God through generosity, and you want to honor your commitments by repaying what you owe, and you want to honor what God has given you in blessing your family, that you may walk righteously in providing for your children.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So it's all
Hold
kind
on,
of
dude.
with
Here we go.
regard to
She
at
said
the
something
expense
right here.
of
Hold on.
starving your family or putting your family in a difficult position. You would be called worse than an infidel for doing that.
Okay.
I think that'd be really interesting to do kind of like a side resource that maybe it's like a 5-day course or something with regard to just finances
Why can't you do it?
through Bible and 365. I think it would be really fascinating and also super helpful even to our students with Turning Point.
Yep.
So
Why don't you do it?
I have the program for you, and
I know.
there's some great financial instruments that God has given us and provided for us to be able to utilize.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something that Charlie used to say. I don't ever say it nicely like Charlie did, but I'll just outright and say it.
face.
There's no reason why anybody in this country should walk in poverty. In this country, there is no reason. There has never been an easier time in this country to produce wealth than right now.
Says someone that's backed by Israel. All you have to do is shill for Izzy, and it's not hard to be wealthy, right? This is the most ignorant thing. Like, I get that in one way, in one way, it's true. In like a certain way, that's kind of true. Okay. But people can't control the environment they're born into. People, like, I work with families, some of which have not been dealt an easy hand. The kids themselves, right? And then their parents, right? Some are not blessed. Not everyone has a high IQ. Not everyone knows how to get out of their own circumstances that they were born into. Some people are born into extremely abusive, very toxic, even addicted lifestyles, right? And so much of who we are does have a huge factor in like the environment that we're raised in. And he makes it sound like it's just, you just do it, man. Just go make $1 million. Just go be wealthy. People struggle with making it out of the circumstances in which they were born into. And it takes a lot. It's very hard, to do that. I struggled a long time. Like, I didn't have a father figure, right? I had a lot of very, very abusive stepfathers. I didn't have a lot of good mentors in my life growing up. At the younger stage, when I got older, I had a lot, like once I was in Bible college and really plugged into churches, I had good mentors. But like struggling with the things that became a part of who I was from the environment that I was raised in, like followed me for a long time. And one of the things that I struggled with was not wanting to feel pain, emotional, psychological, and physical pain, because of abuse, because of the environment that I was raised in. And I've found, and I think I'm the only one right now out of my siblings that, well, I know I am. I've been sober since 2018. But because I don't speak with a lot of my siblings because they're very unhealthy and they're not making good choices with their life. I pray for them and I love them from a distance, because I have to have healthy, good boundaries. But they all struggle with addiction. Addiction is one of those things in my family that came from both sides of my family. And, by the grace of God, by the grace that he put people in my life, my wife's family, and then also, I don't want to say because of the person I am, like I do have some part in how I made it out of that cycle of like generational sin and curse. Because at some point it's a choice and you have to make it to that place where you finally say, I'm making the choice and I'm not going back. But a lot of people never make it to that place. They struggle and they think that this is just what their destiny is. And they just repeat that cycle forever. And so it's not as easy as James would have you believe that there's just no reason why people are poor in this day and age, right? There's no excuse for it, right? If you see a poor person or someone struggling in poverty, that's their own doing. It's their fault. There's no excuse that, and he's going to be like, we have this, and you could just, if you just have this, you could just not be poor. And it's just an oversimplification and ignorant thing to say. You know, it's very nuanced. And yeah. Oh, but don't worry. Erika's going to create a financial course for her students. And for those people that sadly still go to Calvary Chapel churches, that they could teach. But don't worry. You'll have to pay for this course. Pay me. You're struggling financially. But don't worry. I'm going to create a course. And you're going to pay. And then I'm going to teach you. And then it's all going to be solved.
And I know a lot of people will say, well, look at how high the house payments are. And I get all that. But the one thing that we have that previous generations never had is in something as simple as this. I mean, it's amazing how quickly kids can produce residual income for themselves with just a simple set of disciplines that they can be taught, that they can grow, and they can walk in great abundance. And I don't think it's difficult. And it doesn't involve giving money to the Lord so that you can get $1 million back. It involves developing a skill set and learning how to utilize the skill set to build wealth. And I think that that's a very, very important thing. And I think it's critical. And I really believe this because I think pastors especially should be the best examples of this.
Here we go.
Yeah,
You know, I think that
true.
pastors should be the ones who are the biggest tithers in their church.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
It's difficult.
Look at her.
I'm in competition with a few people. I don't know who they are, but I know I'm in competition.
How?
Because as my church, I don't know who gives and who doesn't give. But
then how do you know how you're in competition? So you don't know who gives and how much they give. How do you know that you're in competition with them? And why would you be in competition about tithing? Because everything's a competition to you. You gotta be the best. You gotta just one up everybody. Like, you know, at the Price is Right, when someone gives a bid and they're like, 800, Bob. And then Kathy goes, 801. That's James. He's going through the tithing for this week, and he goes, oh, I just got to find the biggest one, and then I'm just going to go, and 1 penny. I out-tithed you. I'm the best. Take that. Take that, you guys. I'm better.
I got some businessmen that I need to beat out. But the bottom line is
look at Erika. Yes. I do the same thing.
In this country, there's never been more opportunity. The problem is we're being programmed to not take advantage of those opportunities. And kids are coming out ripped off. That's why I think one of the most brilliant works that Charlie ever put together was talking about the college scam. That book that he wrote, there's so much wisdom in that. Because what happens in academia is it encourages people into poverty instead of building wealth. And the habits that you learn in grade school and elementary school, all those habits are habits that teach.
It literally has never been more apparent today's show for her that she just wants him to shut up. Like, she does not want to be there. I've never seen her fidget as much as she fidgets in this chair. Oh, there we go. We can see her hat better. It does say Romans VIV. What's that? Is that 16 or is that 14? I'd have to Google it. I don't read Roman numerals often, right? But also, I want you to pay attention. She's about to make a statement about his kids not going to college after he just makes that statement about Charlie writing the book about college being a scam, which I do agree. But there are professions that you do need to go to college, and Charlie said that. But the good majority you don't. Let's see if her statement that his kids don't need to go to college, if that jives with him.
People how to walk in poverty, not walk in wealth. And I think that's a very important thing. That's why my children will never go to public school.
Okay.
And if they have to go to college, it will only be because they want to be a doctor or something like that. And even then, I'm going to try to keep them away from college.
No, I mean, and Charlie, even with Turning Point Education, Charlie was adamant about making sure that we had a program which is flourishing now. It's amazing, called Prep Year.
Oh, yeah.
Where if you are a senior in high school Or let's say you're graduating senior in college and you're thinking about going to grad school or something like that. And you just want to take a beat of a gap year,
A beat.
because Charlie would always say he had a 13-year gap year.
Yeah.
But it's one of those moments for these students to be able to say, okay, before I rush into going into debt and going to college, why am I going to college? And instead, we're giving these students an opportunity to go to prep year where they can be poured into from amazing leaders in various industries that these students are interested in, and also to different mentorships, having people come in and talk to them about finances. There's people that come in from the admin and speak to them too, different theologians. We're so blessed to have amazing individuals to pour into these students
Amazing pour.
so that they can have a well-rounded understanding and viewpoint of, after graduation, I now know after these 9 months what I do want to do and what I do want to get into. And we also are able to provide them different mentors and different job opportunities. And selfishly, we do hire a lot of them because they're very, very well competent in their field. But it's really, really important to really take that time and that breath of, what I'm doing, is it serving the kingdom, and is it making an impact, or am I just following and going with the flow of things? And I'm telling you, those students, they're phenomenal. You should actually come and speak to. We have a prep year in Dallas, and then we're opening up a second one in Chicago this year. So I really think it would be special for you to speak to them. But if any of you out there have high schoolers or college age students who'd be interested in being involved with prep year, it's really a special program that we have that Charlie was really inspired by.
And it's so.
What did she just say? Like, honestly, that whole word salad she just gave, did you get anything? Was it just a lot of words, not a lot of information? Yeah. Did you see how she's able to talk about Charlie as if he's been dead for freaking ever? It's been 10 months. Like, she is able to talk about Charlie and have no emotional response. None. That's not physically possible if you're a real human, Christian, loving wife grieving your husband who just was murdered 10 months ago. It's just not. You're not going to ever convince me ever. And I've spoken to many grieving widows, and they say like 10 years, like it still happens when they see something, smell something, hear something, tell a story. It's like, it's uncontrolled. It just happens. Right. But she's talking about him. This is a 2-hour thing, or hour and 20 or whatever. And not once when she talks about him, 10 months after, does she get like this response that she can't control, where she's just like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'm being overly critical. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm being overly critical. I'm thinking like, this is just not right.
Valuable. I mean, it's so valuable. If you're rushing to find something immediately, like I said, my website has the biblical side of it. As a matter of fact, we even have a thing on our website that teaches you how to build skill sets in using the current financial instruments, like the stock market, for example, is one of the best financial instruments in the world to be able to build wealth. We have that there. And I know for a fact what Turning Point is doing is extensive. It's very, very, very extensive.
We know. It's an extensive op you guys are running, right? You got Lori Fronsvy's Superfeed technology tracking all Christians, right? Sending pro-Israel propaganda for the foreign ministry of Israel for Bibi Netanyahu. Yes. You are geo-tracking all of them. When they go into church, they didn't know that when they brought their phone that you were now going to be tracking them. When they go into a Christian university, when you go to any Cheap USA event, Make Heaven Crowded event, they didn't know that by them coming to support you was also them agreeing to allowing you to track them and send them propaganda. Yes, TPUSA is busy, okay? They're busy trying to take over the world, okay? one Christian at a time. Yes, we know, James. We know. On behalf of Israel, you all are very busy. Charlie was putting a kibosh on that, and now he's gone, and it's like the floodgates opened. You've never been more busy. Erika said that. We've never had more work than ever before. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like Charlie dying did something that y'all are benefiting from. Motive? I mean, so Charlie being alive was like this wall that the donors in Israel and everyone was running into. Like, Charlie was the wall. He was like, I'm not going to take that money, man. I know what that money is for. I know what you're going to do with it. You're going to manipulate me and try and control me and make me be like owned. And I'm not doing it. In fact, like, get out of here with that. That was a very inconvenient reality for all of these Jewish donors and for these Zionist pastors, that like their whole shtick and them getting money and being on the payroll, in my opinion, for Israel, right, is their whole thing. And Charlie's like, yeah, I'm done doing that, actually. Like, I did that. I didn't know that it was going to lead to all of this. Like, I thought it was something like I had to do. I was really young when I started this, and like, we needed the money in order to get big so that we could have the influence, so that we could make the change, so that we could get good politicians into the government, so that we could turn this ship around and have a Christian nation once again. What I didn't know was all of these people giving money that said that Judeo-Christian values are good for America are all Israeli Jewish people that are trying to take over our country, right? And trying to control us and make us beholden to them and get us into their foreign wars to fight on their behalf, that they don't send their men and women to die for. No. They sign us up for that, right? They buy out the most corrupt politicians like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and whatever that dude's name is that just beat Massey, so that they can continue to have their stranglehold over our country, to make sure that we just keep giving them money. And I know that BB and they're acting like, because they're responding to us saying, no, we've had enough. We're like, we're freaking wise to this. We're done with it. They're like, okay, we just got to change the wording, right? We just, no longer are they going to be giving us aid. Now we're going to be partners. Now we're just going to merge things, okay? Now, like, their military, our military be one military, okay? Now we're going, like they said, aid to cooperation. Now we're going from you giving us money to now we're just going to do it together, you know? Do you really think that the money that they used to be giving in aid to Israel is now going to come to us? No. Give me a break. They're just going to classify it, use a different word for it. And they're just going to put it through a different mechanism. If anything, things are going to get way worse. Like, we need to sever ties. Okay. That's literally, like, the more you learn about the JFK assassination, and yes, like many, many, many individuals, country, okay, Israel, and, you know, not companies, but like, so like, the intelligence apparatus of the United States and Israel. There was a lot of factions and groups that wanted JFK dead, but mainly all of it kind of ties back to Israel. And when you look at Charlie's assassination, if you're just being honest, it's the same. It's like he ran into the exact same thing. When you get to that level within this political environment and you actually want to do your job and represent the people, you run into this thing. It's the same thing. It's different people, right? It's just their descendants and other people, right? From the Council on Foreign Relations. But it comes back to, no, you don't get it. America's not free. That's the lie. You're not free. You guys haven't been free for a long time. JFK tried to make sure that you guys got out of it and wanted to make you guys free. That wasn't going to happen. Now, Charlie was running up into the same thing. Y'all are crazy if you think we're going to let one guy make you free. Over his dead body, they said. We did it before. Look how easy they got away with it. What are we like? How many years later, 60-something years later, and they still won't release the files? They're not going to release the files. They're not going to. Do you know how much in those files are all the answers? In my opinion, I guarantee that in those files, if they released them, we would know exactly who's controlling us. All of our assumptions and our gut would be right. It's like, oh, so it's been like this forever? Charlie was literally like taking on the intelligence apparatus. Go watch the Tucker Carlson interview that he did in just a month before he was killed. He was calling out Israel. He was calling out intel agencies, calling out corrupt politicians, calling out, wealthy Jewish donors, but also like philanthropists that are like giving their money to causes, but really to control us, to drive us in a certain direction, and they used him as long as they could until they realized like, oh, something changed. He's done. And that means we're done with him. And they just had to switch their tactic and plan to what Israel does best. Israel is the best at assassinating people. Okay. Always. That is their go-to thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that there's so much benefit that comes from it. But just go, if you're looking for it today, right now, you can search it on my website. You'll see it right there. But
go to my website
to prep for this.
Yeah,
I love that prep year. I
love
completely forgot about this. Such a
Well, your
great
kids can go
term.
there instead of college, and then they'll
Yeah.
be all set. But no, it's a great question. Our next question.
That's what I thought was weird, right? He said that my kids will never go to public school and they will never go to college unless they go to become like doctors or lawyers. The other thing is what's crazy is like he doesn't say to go to college to become a pastor because you have to these days. Like it is just a thing. You got to get your bachelor's, you got to get your master's, and you got to get your doctorate. You just do in this day and age. He actually will attack anyone out there that's trying to teach the word, not as a pastor, but even just as a Christian influencer. And he mocks them and says that they didn't have classic traditional training to do it. Okay. What about the original apostles? Like, what about the original church? The Bible wasn't even finished being put together and like they didn't have formal training. What they can't just preach the good news. They can't evangelize. They can't shepherd the flock that they've, not created, but like amassed. The only people that are allowed to talk about the word of God are these people. You have to go to school. But then he doesn't mention that that's a good thing to go to school for. I found that interesting. And then I found that when she's like, yeah, well, your kids don't need to go to college either. And he's like, yeah. And it looks away. Yeah, okay. He doesn't even believe his own BS, man. And how dare this guy get up there and say that no one should be talking as if like they know the word of God or teaching or prescribing certain things about, Christian life unless they have formal, traditional, classical, theological training. Look across from you, bro. Look at her. She doesn't either. Okay. The argument is like she's not talking though. Touche. She's not doing any teaching, but she acts like she is. Can you make her go to college? Can you make her go back to college? Or is she still in her doctorate program?
It's from Stephanie. My husband and I have a son with intellectual disability due to a genetic disorder. As Christ followers, we do our best to raise him to know Jesus, his love for us, and our need for a savior. I've combed through scriptures looking for assurance of salvation for our son, King David and Mephibosheth.
Yeah, Mephibosheth. Yep.
Wow.
Okay, she read that name for the first time right now. Okay. She did. I mean, like, come on, you guys. She said that her story is that she locked herself in a room twice for 9 months and read the Bible from cover to cover. And then supposedly, ever since she created Bible in 365, she has personally read, but also taught through the whole Bible every year since Bible in 365. Let's see, what year was that? Let's see. When was Bible in 365 created, established? Let's see. 2016. So 10 years. 10 years. So because she has said that she personally does this with the people, because she also sends out the scriptures at 3 a.m. when she wakes up, and whatever like messages, and like she like responds to the questions and emails, her personally. She says that. She said that many times. So she's read through the Bible at least twice when she locked herself in a room, and then 10 more times. 12 times she said that she's read through the Bible cover to cover. Well, I guess 11 and a half, because we're not done with 2026 yet. They're still working through it. And she doesn't know certain names. She can't remember certain stories, certain passages, verses. She couldn't even say the statement right on the memorial that, like, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. She says, for they not know what they do. No. She's just a fraud, man. All right. Well, we're going to skip. My wife was able to get a couple timestamps, so we don't have to listen to the obnoxious grift going on. All right. Let me go. So the first one is 1:26:32. Let me just make sure as I skip through. So this is just him talking, and she's doing a lot of head nodding, right? And then let's see, because I don't want to miss any of the parts where I remember. Let's see, this is 1:13. Nope, she's still not talking. No, oh, no. We're going to make it to 1:26 without her saying anything. That's nothing. That's no big surprise, right? Let's see. What is this?
Isolating myself from the people I'm called to love. Well, I love that she's a Club America chapter leader.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on.
My faith. Yeah. Our next question's from Grace. She says, I am going into my junior year at a public high school in Southern California. It feels like the things people are doing, and even some of the things being taught, are becoming increasingly dark and opposed to a biblical worldview. As an outspoken Christian and Club America chapter leader, there are times when I feel outnumbered and even a little lonely in my faith. How do I stand firm and guard my heart from the darkness around me without isolating myself from the people I'm called to love? Well, I love that she's a Club America chapter leader.
Grace isn't real. She's not a real person. You had whoever's behind whoever is your assistant is who is writing these things. Look at those smiles. They know it. You got to sell it. Yes, Grace, a high school junior, spends her Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, because if she writes in, the only way to get the answer is to watch the show. So they would have you believe a junior high school student writes in this question and then sits through James and waits for them to read. The people that write these in, they don't know when they're going to ask the question or when they're going to read the question and answer it. That means they got to watch the whole thing until their question is read aloud. That does not exist. I don't care. There's some really outstanding and impressive high schoolers, very good Christian high schoolers. I don't think that a high schooler, a 16-year-old girl, even a very, very good Christian one, is going to write in a question and sit through 2 hours of freaking James Kaddis. Okay? It just isn't real. Just like no person wrote into Frank Turek that freaking essay of an email to say that he's struggling in his marriage because his wife watches Candace Owens and doesn't believe the official FedSlop narrative. That person objectively is a figment of Frank's imagination, just like Grace is just made up. Not real. It's just not real. This whole thing, like the level of deception, I truly believe is like at every level. I don't believe anything that they say or do. Like, honestly, I don't. So, like, hold on.
I mean,
we have the best students.
Yeah.
We have best students.
We just
so on fire for the Lord.
So on
and
fire.
just amazing patriots. I love them so much.
Love them. Watch that she just says a bunch of adjectives and she just says a word, throw up, vomit, salad. It's like diarrhea of the mouth, where then you listen and you're like, okay, but what did she say? No. Okay, she didn't actually say anything. Notice that. She doesn't actually say anything.
I almost feel unworthy of answering the question, because I mean, her question is like, the
so
question
thoughtful.
already has a bunch of answers. I mean, Grace, you have a ton of wisdom.
It's almost like Erika wrote it or you wrote it, and you're just like, kind of like when Frank was like, this guy is really smart. I really like this guy. He says evidence as much as I do. Where's the evidence? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Where's the evidence, Candace? If you're going to make that claim, Candace, you need evidence. James is so impressed with Grace. It's almost like he is Grace, or Erika is, because he's also in love with Erika. Like he is. He like says it every chance he get. I'm surprised he didn't say it today. Maybe they're getting the feedback that we've been sending in. Like, maybe stop hitting on Erika every time you do a show with her. Like, if every time you do a show across from Erika, you say the words, you are so gorgeous. You are just so beautiful. But you're not just beautiful on the outside, you're beautiful on the inside. It's not that you're like my wife. It's like you are my wife. It's like my wife and you are the same person. And I'm the same as Charlie. You see what I'm doing here? I'm just going to take Charlie's place, and you're just going to take my wife's place. And then eventually, like, we're just going to be together forever. And remember, Erika once said, oh my gosh, when I was in your office, I just was like, oh, all the books. Look at all the books. But the kids love the books. What Christmas movie is that from? But the kids love the books. First one to get that one. I don't know. I'll do something.
You have a ton of wisdom. I'm going to call you Kaddis because that's how you pronounce your name.
How about you just call her her real name? Look at Erika. Yeah, it's Kaddis. How did you know that is my nickname that you call me when no one's around? You silly dog, you. Stop it, James. Stop it. People are going to see. People are going to know that's my nickname, Kaddis.
In Greek, and it means favorable. This is where your name comes from. That's where we get the word charisma from. Like, you are a favorable person, and boy, do you have that. let me just tell you. Okay. Let me just say this. What you're describing is difficult, but you're not alone. Okay. This was the problem that Charlie faced. This is the problem that so many other people face. One of my favorite examples of this is Daniel. Daniel was a young.
Wait, what was the problem Charlie faced? Hold on.
I mean, Grace, you have the opposite.
She just, oh man,
of them
all right,
so much.
All right, whatever.
And his
I'm not going to go
people
back
don't look
to
at
that.
the story of Daniel that way.
So we're just going to go.
Was
we're going to go to 26. I'm not going to put us through that again. But supposedly something Charlie faced. He doesn't end up answering what it is. It's just him waxing and waning for Grace. Hadid, also Erika. All right, we're right at 120 here.
No, you have those people, lean into them, be close to them, and stand with a common purpose. And I think that you are going to be in great shape.
Wait, I think this is the part where he's talking about, and it's like, why can't you apply that to yourself? Because, hold on, let me see something.
The wisdom to actually execute that, and you need to be able to have both. Okay, and I think that's really important. That's why I actually loved Charlie putting down.
Okay, yeah, actually, no, I want to listen to this. Sorry, I remember. I think it's right at 117. Let's get Erika reading that little thing. It's right here. Here we go. This is where we left off. Sorry.
You have a ton of wisdom. I'm going to call you Kaddis because that's how you pronounce your name in Greek, and it means favorable. This is where your name comes from. That's where we get the word charisma from. Like, you are a favorable person, and boy, do you have that. Let me just tell you. Okay. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
What you're describing is difficult, but you're not alone.
Yeah.
Okay. This was the problem that Charlie faced. This is the problem that so many other people face. One of my favorite examples of this is Daniel. Daniel was a young man that was placed in an educational system that was designed to reshape his identity and his worldview. People don't look at the story of Daniel that way. Daniel was in his young teens by the time he was taken by Nebuchadnezzar into Babylon. And that's exactly what he was in. He was in an educational system that was designed to change all of that stuff. He learned what Babylon taught without allowing Babylon to determine what he believed. I think that's really important.
Jim Carrey got it. It's from Elf, right? That quote that I said, but the kids love the books. It's like the nun, right? It's like in the beginning when they're like, something was wrong with the book and she comes in and he's like, we're going to get rid of the books. We're going to get rid of the books. And she's like, but the kids love the books. And he goes, I know, we did the focus group. I know the kids love the books, but you're not going to do this to me. You're not going to emotionally manipulate me to feeling bad for you and the orphans that are in your orphanage. Sorry, that was a tangent. My bad.
Daniel 1:8 actually says that. It says that Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself. Okay, so clearly you've already done that. Daniel decided where he stood before any moment of pressure came his way. Okay, and you need to do the same thing. I think you've already done the same thing. You've got to know which biblical convictions are non-negotiable and determine in advance how you're going to respond when they are challenged, because they will be challenged. And
so think about Charlie. This is what I thought was so insane. I think that these people know exactly what they're doing and what they did and what role they played in the pressure that was being exerted on Charlie in the end. This guy is unapologetic about being a Zionist, about that he thinks that there's biblical precedent that we have to support Israel as a Christian. Like, that's our obligation, right? I think that these individuals, a lot of their money and support comes directly from Israel. Like, this dude literally has IDF generals in his congregation or that come to him and visit. This guy's from Egypt, and we know Egypt and Israel. We know that Mossad and their military jets flew in and out of Egypt. That's why Egyptian planes were interesting to Candace, because they're not really Egyptian. They're Israeli. Okay, they just fly call signs and tail numbers and planes that are like classified as Egyptian planes, Egyptian government planes, but they're not. They're Israeli and French. Okay, that's the interesting part about the Egyptian planes, is that they're not Egyptian. They just pretend to be. Charlie was under pressure, and it all had to do with Israel, because even the things about Jeffy Epi, it implicated Israel. All right. He's going to say about speaking up and doing the right thing biblically when you're being pressured by not good forces. And I think that him and Erika know exactly what they're like tiptoeing around. And it's like they have to shove it in our face without saying it directly, but they have to let you know that they know that we know and that they don't care. They are beyond any kind of accountability. Like, they can just shove it in your face. Like, they know that we know they know, or they know that we know. Yeah, they know that we know, and they want to let us know. And so that's what I think this is. Okay, sorry. All right, let's continue.
Keep this in mind. If you even think about what Jesus prayed for all of us, he never prayed that we would be removed from the world. Kind of wish he did pray that, but he didn't. He said this. He said, "I pray that thou shouldest take them, out of the world, but thou shouldest keep them from the evil." I mean, that's powerful. Like, Lord, he told the Father, "Don't take them out of the world. Just keep them from evil. Protect them." He was saying this of his disciples. You are not called to isolate yourself from unbelievers. There's nowhere in the scriptures where it teaches that, but you are called to remain faithful while living out your life.
Okay.
You're called to remain, you're called to be faithful to what God has asked you to do while you live your life, even amongst them. Let me take it a step further.
What do you think Charlie was trying to do, ladies and gentlemen? Trying to be faithful.
Okay. Isolation will prevent you from becoming a witness. But if you assimilate, it's going to destroy your witness. So the goal can't be either. Guarding your heart means that you have to be selective about the things that shape you. Okay. Be kind and approachable to everybody. Look at the playbook of Charlie's life. Okay. He was kind and approachable to everybody. He put the microphone down so people could talk to him. Okay. Choose your closest friendships carefully. You have to. You cannot have people close to you that are going to harm you. They have to be the people that are the closest to you need to be the people that will help you to accomplish your God purpose, your kingdom purpose.
Do you want to know what James said Charlie's kingdom and God purpose was tied to? Marrying Erika and supporting Israel. I'm not even making it up. So what happens if there's trouble in paradise? And he was their marriage counselor, pastor. He did their premarital counseling. And he said that he actually got to witness and see and hear things about the inner workings of their marriage after they were married, like during their marriage, not just their premarital counseling. And what do you think kind of would he be saying when Charlie started straying from Zionism? And if that would cause tension with Erika as well, that he's losing money from the Jewish donors. He is having Dave Smith destroy Josh Hammer. He's going max with Megan and Tucker at Student Action Summit and was planning. Can you guys imagine if what Tucker did in July of 2025 when Charlie was alive, and the conversation that Charlie and Tucker had on stage and Charlie and Megan had on stage, and then the conversation that Charlie had with Tucker in the episode that they filmed at Tucker's place, and then when Megan came on the show just the week before he was killed, what do you think he was planning on doing at AmFest if he was still alive? If they had the plans to go to war with Iran way back before we did the limited strike on the nuclear sites, and Charlie, I think Trump appeased, like he placated Charlie because I think they knew the plan to execute him was already in place and that it was we just got to make it to September. So he's like, fine, we're going to let Charlie think that he won this debate against Bibi about not going to war. Because remember, like they shot Trump's ear, right? They let him know, like, hey, dude, like, don't forget, right? You said you were going to take Miriam's money and then screw her over. You didn't know that freaking Andrew Colvett is a snake in the grass. He told us, right? You need to know that we tell you what to do. You don't tell us what to do. And you definitely don't tell us to go fly a kite. Did you forget we sent you the golden beeper? Like, that wasn't a gift. You know that, right? You know that the beepers that we sent out, like, we killed everyone with those, right? The beeper that we put in gold and we gave to you was like, you saw what we did to them, yeah? Okay. Just in case you don't understand that gift, here's another one. Bullet past your face. So I don't think that Charlie actually won over Trump and his administration. I think his administration were just doing what they had to do to keep Charlie from going max on them about the war from July to September. Because if the plan was always going to be we're going to war, which it is, clearly, look at what's happening. He didn't have to go. They did it, and we just, give me a break. If he was alive at AmFest 2025 and saw that and guys, remember the files were supposed to be released. No, we didn't get that full letdown till after. Like, it had already started, but like the full in your face, we're not showing you nothing. Actually, there is nothing. And there was nothing. He didn't actually do everything that you guys think he did. He wasn't that bad of a guy. Somebody, I think Megan was like, actually, I think it is, there's just only evidence that he just liked girls that looked young and that were like younger. That was it. That's all that dude did. Okay. If Charlie was alive to find out how they were going to pretty much screw us all over with all of the promises that they made to us, if he was alive after September 10th and all the way to December, he would have known for a fact that something changed, right? Either Trump was always evil and he lied to Charlie and used him, that him and JD were both either being threatened, blackmailed, bribed, or all of the above. They're being controlled, right? Being forced to do something that's not in the best interest of Americans, okay? And if Charlie was alive to witness that and to see the no transparency and accountability for the Jeffy Epi files, Venezuela, then we're going to have actual war with Iran. And Charlie thought that he had won the debate to only it be, and he said that, he said this in Thought Crime with Tyler Boyer, Jack Posobiec, Andrew Colvin, and Blake Neff, that if they try to push regime change after, Midnight Hammer, something's wrong. Something's really wrong, because he had been promised that would never be the case. So could you imagine what would have been taking place on the AmFest stage in 2025 if Charlie was alive to witness and experience the betrayal that we all experienced, but we experienced from this side? Could you imagine the level of betrayal that Charlie would have experienced and how responsible he would have felt? Because remember, it's been said time and time again, without Charlie, Trump would not have been elected in 2024, right? That it was that number of people that Charlie was able to mobilize to go vote that made the difference between Trump and JD being president and Kamala and freaking Waltz. Charlie would have felt extremely betrayed. He also would have felt like they used him, took advantage of him, and he would have felt responsible that he got all of us to vote for them, and this is how they repay us. It would have been bad. Charlie would have said, all gloves off. He was already taking the gloves off. He would have taken the gloves off all the way. It would have been over. We would have had Candace, Tucker, and Megan. I only say that because if Charlie was still alive, Megan would have followed suit, I believe. She's too weak, I think, to do it without Charlie, right? Like, she's riding the fence. She's playing both sides. She's like, yeah, Tyler totally did it. I want to be there. I want to watch his soul leave his body. And she gets up there now and is like, there was no real, operation going with Mossad, he just liked younger looking people. That's it. That's all there. Nothing to see here. I don't trust Megan. Sorry. But I think if Charlie were alive when all this went down in the fall, going into the winter, into December at Amfest, they knew they couldn't risk that. They could not risk Charlie and Tucker and Megan again, like happened at the Student Action Summit the Student Action Summit in the summer of 2025. It would have been like that times a million. And there's no way, there's no amount of money they could throw, at churches and FARA filing, show faith by works, and Clark. They wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. It would have been done. It would have been, JD would not have even had a chance to be reelected in 28 because Charlie was endorsing him, right? Charlie was like, my main thing is going to be to get JD elected in 2028. He believed in JD as much as he believed in Trump, maybe even more. He was close supposedly with JD. So much so that in his death, Erika's like, JD, got to carry on the torch, right? He would have been the death of them politically. I believe that wholeheartedly, that is a major motive to get Charlie out of the way. It's almost like they waited to take him out to go full max back into war, right? It was after his assassination, Venezuela happens. After his assassination, we go to real war with Iran, and we're still in, war with Iran, even though we won. We decimated them. Oh, don't worry. They don't control the Strait of Hormuz. We're letting them shut it down. We could make them open it up at any time. This is strategic. We're doing this. We're letting them do this. This is our decision. We're in control here. Oh my gosh, these people. Hey, I haven't said this once yet. Can you guys do me a favor? Please hit the like and the subscribe. Please. It is the best way you can help support this channel. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it.
But the people you love do not automatically receive permission to influence your convictions. They can't. Okay? You have to stay closely connected to people like your parents, your church, your youth leaders, mature Christian friends. You got to stay close to them. Okay? But don't attempt, this is my opinion, I think it's a biblical opinion. Attempt to stand alone.
He's a pastor. He goes, no. Don't just. I think this is biblical. Hold on. I think this is probably biblical.
Alone simply to prove that you're strong. You'll never make it by doing that, right? Remember that your classmates are people that the Lord loves.
Wait. You can't do this on your own. What if the people you were relying on were systematically being removed from your orbit? Or they were being controlled slowly, one at a time. What would Charlie do then? So isolating, right? They were running Charlie, They were, yeah.
Okay? They're not your political opponents. They're not like projects to be defeated. Because listen, look, I've been to Amfest. I've been to many other places, and I see these amazing, young, enthusiastic kids. They're babies in my mind, right? And sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in winning the debate. But it's not about winning the debate.
Oh.
Learn to ask questions. Learn to listen carefully to what they say and speak to the truthful issues without becoming cruel to them, putting them down, or being arrogant, right? If you're going to be outspoken, which you should be, it doesn't require you responding to every comment or turning to every conversation into some major confrontation. Sometimes courage means that you're going to be speaking out loud, but sometimes wisdom means that you're listening and waiting for the right opportunity, right? So just because you have the courage to speak doesn't mean you have the wisdom to actually execute that, and you need to be able to have both. Okay, and I think that's really important. That's why I actually loved Charlie putting down the microphone. He put down the microphone because Charlie recognized he needed wisdom from the Lord to be able to speak, and knew that by putting down the microphone, it kept him from being knee-jerk in his reaction. And it allowed him to be able to understand the matter and to do this. And I think that that's really, really, really important. And even Peter tells us to do this exact.
Charlie said that was something that he learned as a way to, Charlie told us why he did this. He didn't say it was because of the Lord. he realized that it showed the questioner that he really was genuine. Because remember, it was those with disagreements go to the front of the line. So he really wanted those individuals that were coming there to try to dunk on him, trying to argue with him. He wanted to let them know that he actually wanted to hear them out. He wanted to give, he didn't want to just overcut them and speak over them. He wanted them to feel like he was actually listening, because he was. It was something he learned through doing it over and over again that helped them realize that he was there in good faith. Okay. These people, dude. Andrea Wilson became a member. Thank you, Andrea. Welcome to the team. All right. Back to James Kaddis.
Same thing. He says, sanctify the Lord in your hearts and be ready to give an answer. That's what he says. Be ready to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is within you. But look what he says. He says, you do it with meekness and with fear. That's the idea. So here's the practical exhortation that I would give you. Begin each school day. I'm sure you probably already do this, right? With reading the Bible and praying before other voices begin to start competing for your attention. Don't let them compete for your attention. Get that straight first. That's why we call them devotions. We devote ourselves to God so that we aren't moved. Then maintain a strong Christian fellowship outside of school. You have to do that. It's
okay. So when he says school, think about like company, organization, TPUSA. When he's talking to this young lady, think about Charlie, right? And that all the things that he's saying that she would need to do, Charlie was being robbed of that because he was being insulated by all of these evil people that pretended to be good Christian friends, right? His, you know, what did James just call it? Your, I don't know, support group of, you know, good Christians that can like help you through difficult decisions and times, and that, you know, Christian support. You are who you associate with. You are who you hang out with. And it just so happens that systematically after 2018, these people were being brought in by Tyler Boyer, Andrew Colvett, Erika Kirk. All the good people were either being forced out or quit because they realized that things were changing and they lost their ability to be near Charlie. And so all of the good voices were systematically being removed from Charlie and cut off. That's like one of the main things you do in an abusive relationship. When you do that in a cult, anytime you want to control someone, right? You got to isolate them.
Critical. The other thing I would tell you is the talking point slogans that you hear with all of these social media influencers.
Oh, here we go.
Doesn't replace good, solid biblical thinking.
Here we go.
I hear too many people give out the talking points, but don't make intelligent arguments. Think about why you believe what you believe.
You mean like Erika? Like literally, like Erika, all she does is regurgitate. I even made a thing. It's called bumper sticker slogans by Erika Kirk. Like that's all she does is regurgitate Christianese language, statements, phrases, right? What does she say? Like swim in a stream of significance. You know, she's like, you know, when you read the word, it comes to life like Technicolor. And I mean, that's not really like a Christian statement, but like she says these things that like aren't real things. And you're like, okay, well, like, okay, but what does that mean? What does that mean? Can you give me something meaningful? Like something with real fiber? I need some fiber. I need some Christian fiber in my diet, please, Erika. You keep giving me, you guys know that whole thing about iceberg lettuce right now? That's what Erika feeds people. Iceberg lettuce. And it's got parasites in it. It's going to make you sick. Nothing. Why can't James just tell her? Take your own advice, Erika.
Leave and set boundaries around conversations. Okay, around things that you know, even in entertainment, what you watch, the relationships that you have. Make sure those boundaries preserve who God has called you to be. Now, I will say this: there's one important caveat for this. Okay, Which, by the way, well, let me just say this. I think this will summarize the whole matter.
Oh, please.
If you are right now in a position where you're being seriously harassed, you're getting threats, there's, any kind of inappropriate conduct, because there's a lot of that kind of thing happening right now on school campus.
Why does it sound like he's explaining exactly what was happening to Charlie before Charlie was assassinated? Why does it seem like if you just exchange this person with Charlie and whatever situation he's talking about with this girl or dude in a school, and you replace it with Charlie and Jewish donors and Israel, why does it seem like it's the exact same thing? And it's like it's like he can't help himself. It's like he's just got to rub it in your face.
Go to people you can trust about it so that you can deal with it. I don't want you to deal with that alone.
Like
okay?
Charlie?
Especially if you feel outnumbered. I want you to have a strategic alliance with people that will help you through everything. Charlie. And it's really, really, really critical.
Yeah, he was trying.
Remember this, okay? Truth is never going to be determined by the large crowd. Okay? Elijah,
mm-hmm.
he also believed at one point that he was the only one that had the truth. Okay, but God reminded him that even though there's not a large crowd, there's a remnant. There's people that are with him. And just know you have those people, lean into them, be close to them, and stand with a common purpose. And I think that you are going to be in great shape.
Could you imagine if Charlie thought some of those people were still good in the end, and then he realized that they weren't, and then he was like, oh, it's all of you. Holy smokes, it's all of you.
Amen.
Amen.
Our next question is similar. Her name is Emma. How do you tell when you should be a living testimony or avoid people who seek what is against biblical values? To be specific, I'm looking for a literary agent, but the majority I've seen so far spread woke ideology, and I feel like pursuing business with them would be morally wrong personally.
Can you help me understand, Erika, what she means by a literary agent?
So we're just going to listen to her explanation, and then we're going to hop to the next timestamp. But this I found is interesting. So he doesn't understand. He writes books that she's not speaking metaphorically, that this is somebody writing in. And I think this person is hoping that Erika or James will be like, I'll be your literary agent. I'm a Christian.
Is that what I heard you say?
Right. I think she's trying to write a book. And so I think that she's trying to find a literary agent who would be able to help publish and do all the different things for her book. And that's not what.
Close your mouth, James. Close your mouth.
So, I mean, the other option is
you
self-publish.
Oh, yeah.
But
she has
I think
advice.
she's looking for a literary agent who is more conservative leaning or Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conservative leaning or Christian.
Okay. This is important. Okay.
Yes.
Because 1 Corinthians tells us not to accompany ourselves with people that are ungodly, especially in relationships like this.
So you mean like Stacey Sheridan? You mean like Seth Dillon, like Bill Ackman, like all the people that were around Charlie in the end, and that what about like Greg Laurie? I mean, isn't he kind of entangled in some sort of controversy with somebody he allowed to be in charge of his orphanage in Romania, abusing children and sending him $17,000 every month, even after they did an independent investigation and found that he was doing it? Greg's like, yeah, but we're just making so much money. Like, can we just leave him there? Because we're just making so much money. So, and that's the person that Erika partners with the Make Heaven Crowded tour. That's who she kicks off the event with. Rob McCoy has similar things in his background with allowing convicted abusers of children to work at his church, to give them access to children. Rob McCoy. Good job, buddy. this is who Erika partners with. Okay.
Which is really important, like a business type relationship.
Correct.
Correct.
But I do want to say this because this is like really important. We wouldn't be able to function in society if we refuse to do business with everybody who held unbiblical beliefs. I mean, like
you got to work with Israel. Okay. You know, we can't just not, we can't take people, we can't deny people's money. They want to give us money. They do require us to do what they ask after that. But, you know, it's like, you can't just do that if you want to make money. You know, you want to take over the world. You got to let Israel control you. Just got to take the money.
You wouldn't be able to get in a plane and fly.
Right.
Yeah. It would be, let me mute this for a second. You know, you wouldn't be able to do anything, you know, buying something from a company or hiring a plumber, or, you know, working with some unbelievable, unbelieving professional.
Look at her. How many times is she just like, oh my gosh, shut up, James. You're talking about plumbers right now. You realize what the question was, dude. I wrote the question. I sent it to you before. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize I paused it on that. Okay. Look at James. Look at Erika. Look at James. Look at Erika. This is classic.
Can't mean that you endorse.
Is she texting someone? He's like talking. Is she texting someone right now?
Everything that they believe. So I
think she is. Her phone's on her desk, you guys. I see her hand. Look at her right hand. She's swiping. She's texting someone right now.
Just want to say that.
Look at her right arm. It's moving.
But let me say this about a literary agent, the reference that you're making to.
So they're like, get off of her. Get off of her so that we can't see that she's not paying attention.
When you say literary agent, you're meaning somebody that is going to like be her manager for writing a book. Is that how I understand that?
Usually that's correct. Correct.
Yeah, I might sound like a fool for saying this, but it's not a term that I've actually heard before. So
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. It's a real term. It exists. I'm the one that wrote it. It's real.
There's some you truthfully do not need a literary agent to write a book.
Okay.
You don't.
Yeah.
You can self-publish. You can have self-agency. You don't need it. It's helpful. It's helpful, especially navigating through all the different channels of being able to get your book out on shelves. But
she would know because Charlie wasn't done reading his book, Stop in the Name of God, and all of a sudden he gets murdered and his book was just magically done. And then she went on the book tour. And now we don't know how much of that is actually Charlie. She knows. We don't know.
For the most part, I mean, we live in such a day and age that you can do anything and everything on your. I mean, look at people who write and sing songs.
Can you be specific?
I'm not saying it's the same as a literary agent. I'm just saying they were blessed now to be in a position where you do not have to go through the normal chain of command in order to get something that you have personally created out in the world.
Right. Yeah. Like this book is self-published. I wrote it. I self-published it. And he did have a person that I worked with that kind of.
He had to plug it. You saw how he held it up so you could see the title. He couldn't go one show without plugging. Well, he plugged his other stuff earlier, but he had to make sure he plugged that book.
Helped me with the planning side of it. But I didn't need any of that. And by God's grace, I was #1 bestseller in 13 categories on Amazon for that book. So you can do it without any of that.
Go buy it.
But I would say, because I know there's plenty of them, right? You should determine whether the agent holds your views. Just think about it like this. Find an agent that loves God.
Yes.
Well, this goes for honestly
not just loves God, but knows what they're doing.
Any industry. Yeah. For regardless if it's for books, it goes for modeling, it goes for acting, it goes for even sports. As a sports agent,
those are the 3 things that is part of her BS backstory, right? That obviously she was in pageantry, but she obviously was given that title, right? Like she didn't win that, right? Acting, Midnight, what was it? November Renaissance and the CIA documentary or whatever that thing was on EMPs. And She wanted to be an actor. Her uncle was making fun of the poor college students that were performing on like the Universal Studio stage doing Harry Potter. Like, this is what he said. This is why you need to be very specific when you're praying to God about what you want to do when you grow up. And he was the one that worked for Paramount. All right. And then remember, she's like, oh yeah, and I had a scholarship and I was a team captain and I was super good. Like, her skill in pageantry when she did her, pageant days was dribbling, bouncing a ball. And that's what got her to win Miss Arizona. Bouncing a ball. Okay. Now she's going to get up here and act like she's got something to say.
This is something that holistically, if you're going to have someone represent you, negotiate your contracts, negotiate your finances for those contracts, like this is a holistic thing.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yes.
What you're saying.
And I will tell you, look, I've even had Christian organizations. I had one just recently come to me, big publisher, and offer me an advance on part 2 of my Revelation book.
He's got to plug his other book.
It wasn't good for me or my family. And I just said, no, by the way, they're one of the big ones. And one of the big ones. And I said, no. And they're still bothering me, but I just knew it just wasn't a good choice. I'm not aligned with,
he's just so good. People are just begging him to let them publish his book.
Like, I'm not aligned with them, but I just know from a business perspective, what's better for me and my family. And of course, I'm thinking about my children.
Oh, yeah.
So just because they are godly doesn't mean that they're also the right choice. You have to actually be wise in how you engage.
Is it whoever offers you the most money, James? Is that how you decide? It's not whether or not they're Christian. He just said that, right? It doesn't just matter if they're Christian. It's that you have to make sure they're going to give you the most money. And she's, yes.
So there's a lot to be thinking about, but a relationship like that, I'd be very, very careful about.
Yeah. Charlie was trying to be.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Our next question's from Kelly Sue.
All right. Answer me this. Riddle me this, ladies and gentlemen. This question, would it be better answered, from Erika Francve or James Kaddis? The douche. Just let it play and you tell me.
About 20 minutes left. How does a wife remain steadfast when she is exhausted by the caretaking of her once healthy and active husband that has suddenly and unexpectedly fallen ill? He being the breadwinner, faith-filled leader, and strength of the family.
So what is it like if you have to mourn the loss of your husband as the faith leader, the breadwinner of your family? What would you say to that? And Erika reads this. Okay, a couple things. You're telling me, buckle up. You're telling me 10 months, not even a year, after this literally is supposedly her experience, right? That she isn't just mourning the death of her husband, she's also mourning the loss of him being the breadwinner, the spiritual leader, the father. And she reads this question, and this supposedly is just her recent life experience. 10 months is recent. And she doesn't think about her own life and go, hold on, James, let me answer this. That's number one. She doesn't answer it. Number two, she doesn't read this and realize that literally 11 months ago, none of that was true, right? She didn't have any of that loss. Charlie was still alive. That wasn't her reality. But when she reads this now, 10 months ago, that is just this traumatic, life-changing, life-altering event. She reads this question, nothing, no emotion, nothing. It's not like it should transport her right back to 9:10, right? Reading this question should remind her of everything she lost when Charlie was murdered. She reads this with nothing. No emotional connection. This didn't trigger her at all in any way, shape, or form. She reads this. She's not thinking about Charlie at all. She doesn't say like, yeah, like I could resonate with this 100%. I didn't just lose Charlie physically as my husband. I lost him as the father of my children. I lost him as the spiritual leader of my family. And Charlie was like the best. There was not a better husband and father that I could pick. She says nothing. It does nothing for her.
Whew. That's a very, very, very tough question.
I'm not gonna lie. She also looks really evil. I don't know what it is today. I don't know. I mean, she always looks evil, but her eyes, her makeup, her eyebrows, like she almost looks like a vampire. She kind of looks like those characters from Twilight. I don't know. And she's got like the red in her hat, like blood sucking, you know. Yeah, I don't know. She just looks really evil to me. I'm sorry, she does.
I mean, caretaking is not easy. It's
No.
hard.
Oh, how interesting. I forgot there's a whole nother layer to this that she could speak to. She's taking care of her mom. Her mom is sick. Everybody knows this. This person writing in is either her, once again, but that's what I don't understand. So she would write it in so that she could answer it and be like, yes, I know exactly what you're going through. But then she doesn't answer. So that makes me think it's not her writing in. And then it makes me realize, then why does she not realize that these people are literally writing to her? Like they want to know her. She's supposedly taking care of her mom, her like sick and dying mom. And she also just lost her husband. Like both of those things, like multi-layered in this question, this person was writing for her to answer. She reads it and goes, nah, I don't have anything. James, you take this one. Go ahead, James. You like to talk. Go ahead, James. Do your thing, James. Word vomit all over them.
No.
It's hard, and you need a village around you.
A village. Oh, yeah. One more thing. Listen to what she says and then tell me, did she actually give any advice? Did she actually leave this person with answers or more questions?
Not saying that you need other caretaker. You understand what I'm saying? It's
No,
like
we
it's
don't.
not.
No, we don't.
It takes a toll on you if you do not have either boundaries or other people helping you. You can't do.
Yep.
You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone.
Deep.
It's very
That
hard.
was deep.
It's hard.
Yeah, I think you summarized it actually quite well. And
What? Okay, please tell me if I'm just like, I can't see, I'm not objective, I have confirmation bias, I'm being overly critical. How did she summarize anything? Did she answer anything at all? Please be honest with me. Please. Because it feels like she said nothing and then he said, wow, I can't really add anything to that. You did such a good job summarizing that. Please help me.
And I want to say this because it's important, right? Look, remaining steadfast with helping your husband doesn't mean pretending that you're not exhausted, right? Like you have to acknowledge that you're exhausted, because if you don't acknowledge you're exhausted, you're going to run both of you are going to run into the ground. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be grieving. Look, here's the thing. You're grieving more than your husband's health. Like I think this is important to understand. You're actually grieving the sudden loss of the life that you guys shared, because the roles that gave your family stability is gone, right? So the whatever the future it was that you expected, you're grieving all of those things right now.
And all of this being said, right, how does he not realize that what he's saying could literally make her break down in tears? How is he so confident that what he's going to say is not going to make Erika literally break down, because this is supposedly her reality? that 10 months ago, that she'd still be grieving the loss of the future that she was supposed to have with Charlie. Nothing. He knows her so well that he knows that she's not gonna blink. She's not gonna bat an eye. That 10 months ago, Charlie was murdered, and the father of her 2 really young children was stolen from us all and her, and that her future that she was supposedly still hoping and praying and planning for to die old at an old age with Charlie, with grandkids and maybe even great grandkids, was robbed from her. And that he could say this so fresh, the wound is still just open and raw, that he could just be so confident that she is so fine that he's going to say this and not cause her to get emotional at all. Please tell me if I'm freaking wrong. I just...
And I'm not saying that your husband has lost his value. What I'm still saying is that your husband is still present, but much of what was once what once felt familiar as a family has completely changed. So that's a real form of grief.
Yeah.
And you should be allowed to name it without feeling guilty or disloyal, or even being accused of being somebody that's as such. But there's...
Can you please, maybe it's because Erika hasn't been given permission. Maybe she feels she hasn't been given permission to grieve. James, can you just look directly into the camera? Can you just say her name? Can you just tell her you give her permission to grieve Charlie's death? Please, it would do a lot for us. If that's all she's been waiting on is permission from you, and then she'll just finally start the process of grieving Charlie's death, we need to see it. Can you just tell her for us? We just want to see that she actually is grieving Charlie's death. Because as of right now, it just seems like she's been so, to put it in her own words, excited. I mean, anyone? Bueller.
There's a verse that does come to my mind. I think it's really important. It's in Galatians. It says in chapter 6, bear you one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. And I don't think I'm taking that out of context. The command is addressed to the body of Christ. And it doesn't say that one exhausted has to carry, one exhausted wife should carry her husband, the household, the finances, the children, all the emotional distress by herself. That's crazy.
That's
right?
crazy.
The church should help bear this burden. So the first thing that I would tell you is tell your pastor, tell the elders, your family, trusted friends, exactly what is needed. Tell them how you're feeling.
Did Erika do that? Did Erika come to you guys, you and Rob, right? Yeah. Greg and Frank and Jack. Did she come to you guys and go, look, guys, there's no way I can take over as CEO. Come on. You guys know that. You saw the amount of work my husband did every day. You saw the insane pressure he was being put under by all of you and the donors. I have 2 kids under 4. I promised Charlie, and we kind of told the world that I and most Christian women that can, as long as their husbands made enough or make enough, which hers did and does, should stay home and care for the kids. Can she just do that? No. Nope. No.
By the way, avoid general statements like we're struggling. Okay? Because if you say, oh, we're struggling, you know what you're going to get? You're going to get people say, oh, we'll be praying for you. Okay? I think you should be very specific about the things that are happening. You know, maybe it's mentioning, can I get someone to provide a meal on a particular day? Like, let's do a rotation, or someone that might stay with your husband while you find some moment of respite. Just a time of rest, maybe while you go to an appointment, or to maybe help with transportation or errands.
And we're supposed to believe that Erika is simultaneously caring for her sick and dying mother, right? Who lives in that same area where she lives, is caring for 2 kids under 4. Okay. She's still holding up that end of her obligation and her commitment to be the guardian of her home, the mother to her children. And now she's also took on what used to take 2 superhumans, Charlie and Erika, right? He would function in his role, she would function in hers. And because they both did that so effectively and efficiently, it was able to work. But now Charlie's gone. And we're supposed to believe what Charlie was only able to do this one role because she was at home doing this other role, Erika is actually doing both. Erika is literally crushing it. Erika is still doing the home mother guardian role, but now she's also doing Charlie's role. Why couldn't one of you guys go to her and be like, Erika, you can't do this? I get it. People don't make good decisions in grief after trauma. I get that you want to make sure that his legacy and his organization does well. But remember, do you remember Charlie was a vision caster, right? He was not, what was the statement? Founder led. He made sure it was vision led. Charlie did such a good job to ensure that this organization would succeed and continue in his untimely death, assassination, murder, or absence, that Erika, I get it. You feel that you need to do this, but you don't. You don't need to do this, and you shouldn't do this. And in fact, you need to listen to me. I told Charlie he had to marry you, and he listened because I'm a prophet and I speak for God. I'm going to speak for God again. You need to stay home. That's what Charlie would want you to do. That's what you told Charlie you would do. Charlie would not want you to take on his role and try to keep your role at the same time. And in fact, because based on their narrative, Charlie was murdered for doing his job, right? For being CEO of Turning Point and functioning as a truth teller in a time of deceit and propaganda, that telling, Orthodox Christian values and principles were prescriptively what this nation needs to turn itself around. He was murdered for that. Remember, a crazy trans leftist boyfriend climbed up on a roof and loaded 130-06 round Remington 308 into that grandpappy's rifle, and just some hate couldn't be negotiated out. And that's why he died. And now you're going to step into that same place and put yourself at risk? Charlie wouldn't want that. We will help you, Erika. We will make sure, because Charlie, remember, Charlie was so good at hiring everyone. He handpicked everyone. Mikey McCoy, Blake Neff, Andrew Colvett, Jack Posobiec, Tyler Boyer, Terrell Farnsworth, all of them. He knew what he was doing. He assembled the freaking dream team. They're fine. He made sure that they were all going to just succeed. It doesn't need you. He did so good. It doesn't need you to succeed. In fact, the only thing that needs you to succeed is your children that are under 4 years old and that just lost their father. They don't also need, I should have gone to big screen this whole time, sorry. They don't also need to now lose their number one caregiver and parent that was home with them every day, supposedly, right? It's nuts.
Or even cleaning or some level of home maintenance. He had to maintain the home. something like that, or to maybe assist with some paperwork that you're not acclimated in or accustomed to be able to handle, whether it be that or insurance or resources for disability or financial planning, like all of those things, you have to be very specific, and by the way, I would also arrange, like put on a schedule so that when you don't feel like it, it still happens anyway for your health, like regular visits, so that the both of you are receiving some kind of fellowship within the context that you find yourself in. You have to create a dependable schedule of some level of respite, some level of rest, rather than waiting for an emergency. If you wait for an emergency, you are going to be in trouble. Now, leave it to me to say this.
Wait, hey, Charlie's Angels, what clip? Yay. Black Line Brief finally found the clip. What clip? Did you finally find a clip, or I found a clip? This clip? Oh, he looks evil right there. What are the odds? I pause it and he looks evil. I mean, they're pretty high. The odds are pretty high. Who is this man? And pastor. Weird. You don't know? This is James Kaddis. This is Erika's business partner. He helps run Proclaim Streetwear and Bible365. He was also at the trial last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Was it last week? Yes, last Friday. And he was there just so on Friday he could come out and give an interview with Fox, much like, Frank was at a lot of, I don't know if you guys knew, but like a lot of the people that were there at 910 at UVU that were witnesses actually were there. They just were at a hotel all together in Provo watching the trial. They weren't allowed in the courtroom. Frank said it himself. A lot of us were all there. I wonder if Dan Flood and Brian Harple were there. She made sure to have certain people come to that courthouse so that they could then go out and lie to us all. This guy is, number one goy for Israel.
Leave it to me to bring this to your attention, but you have to care for your body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You've got to sleep. You've got to eat right. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to do the things that are necessary in order for you to be able to be healthy. In 1 Kings chapter 19, Elijah was literally losing his mind. He was going crazy. He was literally physically and emotionally depleted. I mean, he was a wreck. And God didn't just like go in and start condemning him. God said, dude, go to sleep, and then gave him food, and then made him go to sleep again, woke him up and give him even more food. So it was, he needed that. And it gave him a little bit more strength. And then
all right, hold on. Let me just skip to the last. We're almost done with them, you guys. Let me get to Erika.
My uncle had a heart attack on Tuesday. The doctors were able to revive his heart, but he had no brain activity and ended up passing away the following day. My uncle had fallen away from the church and was not a believer. I know we have a good, just, and merciful God. Do you think in the time between the heart attack and when he passed, he was given the opportunity to accept Christ? That's a
well, the answer to that is it's highly.
How can she talk? How can she read a question from someone about death? Look at her. How does she not know how she looks on camera? For someone that was in pageants like all her life and, filmed movies that never succeeded and worked for the CIA doing videos and like those Entertainment Tonight kind of shows where she's like walking around asking people things, and then she's like, talking about, pop culture things. How does someone with that much experience with camera not know how she looks right now? With everything going around about her, how does she not have someone telling her, like, you have to really try to not be you on camera? We got to get you to try to just not be you, because being you is coming across like this. And that's what's kind of going on right now. Well, that and everything else that you're doing. But like, this is another big thing. Can you not look evil, please? Like, look at that. I just skip ahead to 1. I mean, she looks like the freaking Grinch right now. I didn't do that. I can't even preview the bottom. I just barely skipped forward. Watch the next one. She's going to be equally bad. Maybe not, but I mean, most of them are. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the very end where they wrap up and then she says something. Hold on. It's not letting me preview the bottom, so I got to like skip. There she is again. She just looks freaking evil. What is she saying?
And so we'll just pepper through them if that's good.
Yeah, happy to do it. No problem.
Just pop.
No problem.
Next question's from Dina. I recently divorced my husband of 5 years due to ongoing struggles with instability, mental health issues, addiction, and financial issues. Even though we are divorced, I still care about his well-being. I have been pulling back my financial and emotional support little by little, but I am still sacrificing some of myself to help him. How do you know the difference between being loving and supportive toward an ex-spouse who is struggling financially and emotionally versus enabling them or staying emotionally tied in an unhealthy?
All right. Well, let's see. Well, I don't know. You guys are over these people. That's what somebody sent me a message. Hard to believe Charlie Kirk ever listened to this big turd. He was probably guilt tripped. Poor Charlie. Love your content and lives. Fellow Leo here. Go Max. Thank you, Cindy Luhu. How funny. And I just said a Grinch thing. She has the same demon that possesses Einstein and BB. It's like in every person that can shapeshift because they have a demon in them. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know why that whoever's doing her makeup and her eyes, like, do you guys think she's also wearing like contacts that accentuate her eyes even more? And then she's like wearing the eyeliner, like everything. I don't know what it is, but like, yeah, I think maybe what you're saying, right? It's like the demon that's inside. So like we see that because it's just not very good looking. It looks like there's like even that. I just can't. I can't even get her. Why is every time I click ahead, it's like, oh, well, there's James Kaddis. But hold on. Like every time I clip ahead and it lands on her, it's like she's just really evil. Well, that one's like not that bad. Nah, that one's not that great. She's thinking. I don't know. Some of these. Let's see.
To pray and praise, but why do I feel so apprehensive now to voice my prayers aloud?
Oh, that's the question where she's like, should I pray out loud? Because I think the demons can hear me. And James is like, yeah, the demons can hear you. We hear you. We're right here. The demons in this state, this day and age, in this state of the game, the demons have already possessed all the Christians that are out here pretending to be Christians. So we can hear you anyway. So, I mean, you might as well just pray out loud.
Okay.
Oh, there he was, fake crying again. Okay, we're done.
Another.
Erika's happiest moment in this whole show was right there. Finally. Okay. Big sigh of relief. We can end. She won't pray. She'll have him pray. And the world is all good.
We're so grateful. Yeah.
It sucked. Yeah. You guys suck.
So grateful for you and again for your family.
Here we go.
For your prayers. And we're thankful for all of you guys as well who continue to just support us and send in questions. And it really is an honor to be able to be in the Word with all of you daily. There's nothing more powerful than reading God's Word every single day, especially just like how Pastor Kaddis said out loud. It's just unbelievably soul-filling, but also it's your sword, and we are in the middle of one of the most intense spiritual battles, but we're on the winning side of that. So God is good.
God is good. Amen. And we have watched the enemy again and again and again and again attempt to rob the people of God. We've watched the enemy attempt to destroy the minds and the hearts of those who are seeking God. And the beautiful aspect that comes with all of this is that God will not allow it to happen. God will always prevail. The truth,
Candace,
is literally in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just a matter of us trusting in the Lord,
Yep.
that he is sovereign in the way that he brings these things about. And we
Right.
saw an example of this last week.
See?
You know, that God is faithful and his justice is perfect.
How?
And it's
because you guys got all of that BS evidence shoved in that's totally not what you claim it to be. Overwhelming, high definition, 4K, so clear. We watch it and we're like, grainy, not Tyler Robinson then? You can see him pull the trigger. Can we watch it? Blurry black Sasquatch running across a roof. Okay. Oh, yeah. The best of it, Lance Twiggs. Wait, can you show us the metadata for those text messages and Discord chats? Wait. The letter. Wait, he burned it? He wrote it? He took a picture, then it burned, and then he didn't burn it all the way, and then now they still have the burned letter, so he didn't even destroy it. So there's just enough evidence to point to the letter, like the picture and then the burnt letter, but he didn't destroy it. Okay, and then all of the surveillance video from that day, it's like the back of him, the side of him, the blurry face. You can't tell who it is. They swear it's Tyler. It could be any kid, that age, that size. Yeah, God prevailed. Justice prevailed, James. Got it.
Without flaw. And I think that the liars will lie. The exaggerators will exaggerate.
It's talking about me and Candace and Barron. All of us. That's us. Liars, lying, and exaggerators, exaggerating. I'm surprised he didn't have a Frank Turek moment and go, remember, we had, well, the Bible says, right, the devil will come to kill, steal, and destroy. And, we had a murder. And ever since we've had lies, slander, accusations, and
the dog and pony shows will continue on.
Talking about us. We're just dog and pony show.
But God sees through all of that.
All of it.
And God prevails over all. And God will continue to rule and reign over all.
Amen.
And we're going to trust in him.
Oh, so he means when he says God and Lord, he's saying Bibi and Israel and the Rothschilds and the global oligarchs and the elites, the demonic satanic people controlling the world. And they want us to be so paranoid that like that doesn't exist. Ben Shapiro, Jeremy Boring saying like, there's no one controlling you. There's no such thing as conspiracies. Believe the government. You can trust us. You couldn't trust the last administration, but this one, you could trust us.
And we're going to watch him do great things.
Amen.
And I was thinking about this the other day.
I bet
Erika.
you were.
I thought it was such an encouraging thing because I was thinking about my own mom and my dad,
Mm-hmm.
who, my dad went to go be with the Lord a few years back, and my mom, a long time ago.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, I have these moments in my life where I say, man, I wish my mom could see this, or I wish my dad could see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
How is she not worked up right now thinking like the same thing, but about Charlie? Man, I wish Charlie could see this. Man, I wish Charlie could see Gigi or Mac or see me or see TPUSA or he's saying this, but it does nothing for her emotionally.
realize they don't wish that. I mean, they're in a place where they're seeing the greatest of the greatest.
Yeah.
And I think that with our limited awareness of what that looks like and what that feels like, we feel bad for some reason. But God is rewarding them for the labor. God is rewarding them for their faith and trust that they put in him. And we can rejoice. And as much as I tell myself, man, I wish Charlie could see just how well the message and the legacy continues to go, and just how awesome of a job you're doing. It's like Charlie's with the Lord. He's not looking at like he's experiencing the reward, and he's like, come on, when are you coming up here?
Look at that face, dude. He's talking about Charlie being dead and in heaven, saying that Charlie is just so happy and pleased with TPUSA and the message and the organization and Erika. And Erika's just like this. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Tell me something I don't know, James. Tell me something I don't know, James.
Oh man, I miss
You
him.
know,
10 months later, she can go like this. Oh man, I miss him. Nothing. Oh man, I miss him. All right. See you guys next month.
it's God's faithfulness. It's his goodness. And he knows what he's doing. And we can find rest and comfort that to live is Christ and to die is gain.
Amen.
Amen.
And that's what we're seeing right now.
Right.
You know, we have everything to live for,
Amen.
and we have everything to die for.
Amen.
It's just awesome. God is faithful, and we can trust him.
Just
for
shut
all
up,
of these
James.
things.
She's like,
Yeah. I'll have you close us out in prayer, and then we will see all of you in a month from now in August for our live Q&A then.
Erika, you can't say we, you can't say our. Okay. Also, can you pray one time for us? Can you just pray one time so we can just get just a little bitty look into that little spiritual depth you've got going on in there? Please. Just give us something, Erika. All right, guys, let me get to this. All right, hold on. If you guys haven't done so already, please do me a favor and hit the like and the subscribe. Okay. It's the best way you can help support this channel. It's free. Just also, after the video is done, you can head over to the video and just write a comment and just be like, good job, good show. Keep it up. Love it. Go Max. Christ is King. Thumbs up all the way. You could do the little hand emojis. Woo, woo, raise the roof. It just helps the algorithm if you guys throw something in over there. You can also hit the hype button and it hypes it for free. And that helps the algorithm too. And that's a free way to help support the channel. All right. Also, if you guys want to donate, but don't want to help give your money through YouTube, you can do it here at buymeacoffee.com/theblacklinebrief. All right. That's out of the way. Now, you guys, we're going to do the part of the show that we do every day before we close and watch Charlie Kirk clips. Okay. I got, how many do we have pulled up? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We got 4 Charlie Kirk clips. And if you guys ever in the audience have like good Charlie Kirk clips that you think we haven't played yet, email them to me. And that's another way that you guys can actually contribute to the show. And I'll play them at the end. And you could be like, I found that clip. I sent that to him.
I don't like to be in this situation at all. And I think the choices are horrible.
Let me give you something to think about.
For sure.
So you're more of a liberal leaning guy. That's great. Tulsi Gabbard. Do you know who she is?
Yes, I do, yeah.
She was the former co-chair of the Democrat Party.
Right.
She's endorsed Donald Trump. Bobby Kennedy, the first Kennedy ever to endorse Donald Trump, to endorse a Republican, Donald Trump. Now, those are 2 Democrats.
Right.
If they were here, you would agree with them more than I would agree with them.
Right. Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But they've endorsed Trump. Why? Because they see Trump, who does protect freedom of speech, that does protect us against this lawfare regime, that does try to end the wars.
Yeah.
Again, Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy, those are like your top-level Dems. That's not just some like low-level thing.
Right.
So I want you to think about that, of what are they seeing and what are they doing that is potentially making them so enthusiastic about Trump. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And now, on the other hand, you don't want wars, right?
Obviously not.
Who's Kamala Harris courting?
Well, that's the thing
Dick
too, right?
Cheney?
Well, like I said.
That's interesting. You don't want wars, do you? You better vote for Trump if you don't want wars. And it's because he genuinely believed that Trump was going to keep us out of a war, as I think we all did. And I said that yesterday too, that like, because Charlie knew them personally and had a personal relationship with them, and he believed that they were going to fulfill their campaign promises to all of us and represent us, like so many people really believed Trump and JD too. And I really believe that if he would have been around after 9/10 and he would have witnessed what we've witnessed since 9/10, he would have completely changed. There would have been no question about where Charlie stood on these issues. And they couldn't allow that to happen. There's just no way.
When Trump was president, an average house you could get at $75,000 combined income a year. Now it's $130,000 a year. Why is that?
So I will say that I don't agree with everything that Kamala Harris stands for, and I'm not that knowledgeable about it. That's why I'm having the debate, so I can learn. But I also don't agree with Trump. So
On what though? What?
I just don't.
Can you give me?
Yup, boo me.
I'm not. No, guys, don't. No, please.
Yes.
Don't boo.
Thank
Don't
you,
boo.
guys.
Please don't boo. What's your name?
Taylor.
Taylor, thank you for coming up. Can you give me 2 things that you don't agree with Trump on, or would you like me to try to win you over for Trump?
So you're not going to be able to do that, but I appreciate
Well,
it.
then you're not open-minded.
Well, first of all,
If you say that there's nothing you really agree, so why is?
All right. It looks like a lot of people are jumping off right now. Well, I wanted to share 2 more. So hopefully not everyone jumps off until we're done. Oops. Hold on. Share screen. Boom. Let me make sure it's on the screen. Okay, cool.
Is horrible. Why do they say that?
Well, so I mean, this is a nuanced answer. It would take nuance. And I want to ask you, what would Trump do to fix this economy? Because his tariff
Exactly what he did for 4 years, because the economy was great when Trump was president.
Yes.
Drill, baby, drill, deregulate, cut taxes, empower entrepreneurs, and allow people to invest in America again.
So
when Trump was president, the economy was objectively better. People remember it as better because it was better. The question is this: why do people think the economy is so bad right now?
So because in 2020, global supply chain shortages, and after COVID, demand shot up, which put upwards pressure on prices. It caused inflation. That's an excuse to price gouge. Right now, inflation is down, but there has not been a price correction. Now, Trump's tariff.
It's you are again. You seem like a nice, sweet person. You are so deceived. None of America.
One more, guys. Don't leave yet, you guys. Come on. You guys get to watch the amazing Charlie Kirk. I want to find some ones that I've played a lot of the full ones. So,
question is really quick. I'll be really brief. I would love it if you could just name 2 Black Republican senators.
Okay.
Well, there is one that I know of, Tim Scott.
Yeah. Can you name a second one?
I'm not sure there is a second. Maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong.
No, there's not. No, there's not.
Yeah, so it's a trick question. How about this? Can you name me the only Black Supreme Court justice? Actually, there's 2 of them.
Well, it's not a trick question. It's a question to try to prove a point. So other than Byron Donalds, can you name another Black Republican congressperson?
Yeah, Wesley Hunt.
Okay. Do you know what the percentage of Black Republican representation in the Republican side of Congress is? Do you know what that number is?
That's such a bad argument. Like, just because they're Black, that means they're actually going to represent you. How about then answer me this? With all of these minority representatives, how come the Democratic Party hasn't actually produced anything that led to significant improvement in the country for the minorities, or improved their neighborhoods or their quality of life? Riddle me this, buddy.
It's not very high. But
it's not very high. No, it's about a fraction of a fraction.
No, hold on. But okay, that's interesting.
No, but I'm curious because I've heard you in other videos. You say, what's the total Black population of the United States?
It's roughly 13%.
So 13 to 14% of the constituents are represented by 0.001% on your side. Now, I'm curious about this one. What's the percentage of the United States citizens who are Christian? But anyway, no.
Oh, you got me. You got him, dude. Wow, you got him. Zing. Zinger. Hold on. I think somebody sent me something. Where is it? Oh, I don't know if I click on this. Well, let's give it a shot. Hopefully I don't make a big mistake. Let's see. Is this when Dan Flood does his sign? Let's see. Can you guys see this? All right, let's see. Oops. Hold on. Can I make this bigger? Hold on. All right, let's see.
From the 10th. Notice the look on his face. Notice the step forward. Notice the arm grab. Notice he's clearly saying.
All right. Well, I don't want to hear somebody talking. Okay.
Different call signs. That is definitionally different.
That's weird. Right. This is the one where Charlie's asked a question about call signs, and Dan thinks it's funny. Okay. Dan thinks a question about call signs is funny, and then he does the exact movement that we see him do on 9/10 that we all think is a call sign to assassinate Charlie Kirk.
Different call signs. That is definitionally different. And unity is what creates a good football team.
Huh. The exact thing. That's weird. I can't play that any longer because I don't know if this person has that edited out. That could have been bad. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen. Love you guys. I'm going to post the link for tomorrow's show. We're going to be hosting guest Mitchell Manley, Charlie Kirk's favorite cameraman that had been with him for 13 years and is finally coming out and breaking his silence and telling us his experience and what his thoughts are about the people that remain at TPUSA, like Andrew Colvett, Blake Neff, Mikey McCoy, Tyler Boyer, Terrell Farnsworth, Justin Strife, all of them. He's going to be here 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please don't miss it. It's going to be great. Mark your calendars. I'm gonna create the link right after I end the show, and then also next Wednesday. It's tentative. I don't know if they've responded yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have Mitch Snow, Matthew Tuzzaroni, and then Honest Ashley, which if you don't know her, she's big on X, but she's close with Matt and Mitch, and I've come to know her, and she's great. So that will be one you won't want to miss either. That one will be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I'm not sure if it's Wednesday. There was like Wednesday or Thursday, but as soon as I know, I'll let you guys know. All right. God bless you guys. I love you guys. Have a great night. Bye.